Mr. Chair, members of the board. Yeah, I just wanted to have a quick informal meeting and discussion regarding the secondary six-year plan before we went through the request for a consensus for public hearing this evening. What you have before you is a draft copy of the secondary six-year plan for Nottoway County. Go ahead.
Mr. Roy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You please listen to Mr. French. We have to adopt your ordinance at the beginning of the regular meeting.
Right.
So you're just listening now as a citizen. Okay.
You want me to call back and post it?
No, you're a citizen. You can listen to read out the report. We have citizens in the room. Okay. All right, go ahead, Mr. French.
All right, so this is a draft copy of the secondary six-year plan. Our funding scenarios on the front. It's broken down between our tele-fee funding and our district grant unpaved funding. There are few changes to the plan as we had it last year. First in the plan, we've got a guardrail installation line, which we keep in there as we need guardrail on secondary routes within the county. We can dedicate tele-fee funding to it. Crystal Lake Road is top priority in the plan. That is just in the plan because it has not been completed yet. The project is fully funded. We plan to begin construction on that in the next couple weeks. Next is two lines for Williamson Road. So when we build a rural rustic, typically right-of-way is not a part of a rural rustic project. However, at the Williamson Road intersection with Courthouse Road, it kind of wides off, but part of that is private property, and it has been like that for decades probably, that we had a roadway on private property. So both of those lines, one of them is for the intersection study, is to study that property and get right-of-way. Right now, the rural rustic project is kind of caught up waiting for that study to be completed, the right-of-way process. We had to identify the landowner, it's the absent landowner, coordinate with them to get that right-of-way process done, which we're in the process now. So Williamson Road is funded. It is likely we'll begin construction on that probably next season once we get through this right-of-way purchase process. After that, in the priority is Barnes Lane. That rural rustic has been in the plan for some time with funding completion in fiscal year 28. After that is Hawthorne Drive with funding completion in fiscal year 31. Now, the bottom line is our balance entry account for a future secondary project. Typically, the county's telecommunication funds go to this balance entry account. Right now, going into this fiscal year, we have $162,000 in that account, and each year for the next 6 years of the plan, we'll be accruing additional $33,000 a year into that plan. These tele-fee funds are kind of judiciary as far as what if the board identifies a secondary project that they want to use these funds on, we can do that. We can let them build up. I'm working on another one in another locality that is about $600,000 in tele-fee funds. So board doesn't have to make a decision on a secondary project using these tele-fee funding right now. If we identify something in future years, if there's a route that does not qualify for the rural rustic program because it does not have 50 vehicles a day and the board wants it hard surface, they can use tele-fee funding to do this. Outside of that, in that balance entry account, in the last year of the plan, we do not have a rural rustic that is fully funded to begin funding. So there is a small amount of unpaved money funding in the last year of this plan. It's $11,000. I did not propose a project to add to the plan this year because it is such a small amount of funding. I was planning on letting it sit for this cycle. It won't, hurt a timeline because no rural rustic project is going to cost only $11,000 as much as I wish they did. That's probably about 5% of what we're looking at for a cost of one now. In the coming year, as I familiarize myself with this secondary six-year program, I'll put together kind of a priority of routes to be added to the plan as VDOT sees it from an engineering and maintenance standpoint, which routes we're gonna add to the plan, but,
I would say that, I think it's Jonesboro Road. Was that the one we were on, Steve, coming back?
Yeah.
Where the bridge, you talking about where the bridge is?
Yeah.
Where-
So, I know there's been some patching and things over there, but as soon as that bridge is fixed, that route's gonna need some attention.
okay, yes, sir. So the Telefee funding, that I was speaking of earlier, because Jonesboro is a secondary road, if the board did want to initiate a project to say widen Jonesboro Road, that is something that could be done through the Telefee
I don't know if we
funding.
need to widen it once the bridge is fixed, but the edges are crumbling. I mean, the truck traffic has been tough on it.
Okay, and that's if it's not changes to the existing alignment, that's something we can do outside of this with maintenance funding.
Just have that in your mind, when that bridge is finished, then those citizens over there need that road fixed.
Yes, sir. Any questions? So with the draft plan, I've provided a list of the unpaved roads in the county. We've got 2 additions that qualify this year based off of 2023 traffic data. That is Votech Road and Lone Pine Road, this dead-end section of Lone Pine Road west of 723. So in the next year, be taking a look at all of these candidates and kind of prioritizing them. We'll come back next year, dedicate that $11,000 to one of those projects, and then start funding those projects through the rest of the plan. If the board wants to choose a route now to put that $11,000 on, you're more than welcome to.
We'd have to discuss it. I mean,
Yeah.
so we can think about that.
Yeah, typically, when I'm adding projects to the plan, it's done even before a work session. It's meetings with the county administrator, meetings with board members outside of a work session. And it's kind of backwards the way that it works from a programming standpoint. So we're supposed to have the work sessions about this time frame, mid-April. Well, I programmed the money for this plan for this draft in mid-March, and I won't be able to make any changes to the funding or program any money until about mid-June. So it's ideal for me to have an idea of what project we're going to add to the plan before we even get into this process with the work sessions.
So end of February, beginning of March.
Yes, sir.
You'd like to have an idea of
Yes, sir.
what kind of needs? Okay.
Yes, and that it kind of reduces any deliberation at a work session or at a board meeting, more, less formal discussion, and kind of get into the weeds of what roads we want hard surfaced and why.
There's sometimes other counties abstain from recommending a road and let the state do the decision based on the traffic.
I typically will make a recommendation. I've never had a board or a locality kind of disagree with my recommendation. I typically base it off of traffic count and the number of citizens it will benefit. So if one road has 5 houses on it and the other has 10 or 12 and they're both candidates, I'm going to go for pleasing more constituents.
I understand.
Now, I've ran into it before where some citizens don't want the road hard surfaced.
Yes,
Yes.
increase traffic.
On a dead-end road, you won't.
No,
It
no,
will
did
not.
you?
No.
I've ran into it before. Citizens did not want the state road paved because they were riding their horses on it.
Right.
But,
That's what's horse people.
You're right.
All right, and you wanted to go through your regular report?
if y'all don't mind, we can
No,
knock that
that's
right
fine.
out.
While you're here, then you
So,
can.
so you're looking for, just make sure we're straight, consensus to move on to public hearing, and when would that be set?
That would be at the regular meeting on May 15th.
Okay.
So at that meeting on May 15th, we'll have the public hearing. I will get up, I'll go, and I'll read through this draft plan. It's because it's a public hearing and for the public record, I've got to go through and read all the dollar values and everything dedicated to each project. And then we'll open it to hearing and resolution for the plan, and that'll be the end of it.
In roads within a corporate limit, y'all don't do anything there, do you?
No, sir.
Okay.
If it's a corporate limits where they self-maintain, like Blackstone, no. If it is crew or
Crew, yes.
vertical, yes. that would
Okay,
be
that's what I thought. Okay.
Yes.
And we have, I think I'm, you know, I know this is our first year working together, but we have, at the public hearing, changed priority because of the
Yes.
public speaking and saying, hey, this is a problem here. I think that might have been some way we ended up getting Dusty Lane or something. I can't remember one of the.
I wish you hadn't done that, but I know
No.
you did. I was not in,
Right,
not in favor of that one.
Yes.
That one should have stayed Dusty Lane. 'Cause
Yes.
it's a mess.
Dusty Lane?
Yes, it's a mess. The tar won't stay there. They come in and patch it all the time. And really, there's nobody lives on it except for the far end.
That's right, the chicken farm.
Chicken farm on the far end
That's right.
and the bamboo farm on the far end. On my end, nothing.
Darn.
I have made a note. I'll take a look at it and see what's going on.
Well, they've been coming and do you have like traffic cams up?
We're not gonna have time.
Something's
He's
up
gonna
on
have
that
to
road, and I
stay.
can't figure out exactly
keep
what
talking.
it is on what it's, a counter, what it's doing.
It may be counters. We don't have any cameras up that I'm aware of. No,
Okay.
sir.
Cause it's sitting on my uncle's property, and I rode by one day and I said, what is that? And I, you know, didn't know, surprised somebody hadn't shot it.
Right. Like one of them drones.
I'll take a look at that as well. It's
All right,
interesting.
thank you.
Is it mounted to a street sign? Or,
Yeah, I mean, it's mounted on a pole, probably 10, 11 feet.
I do have one sign for you that needs new reflectors. So eastbound, before you get to Cox Road, eastbound 460, there's a Southside Community College sign. But at night, you can't tell what it says anymore.
the one where the letters are kind of fading on it, it is in the plan to be replaced. Yes, sir.
All right, good.
Okay, so consensus for public hearing, May 15th?
Yes, yep,
All
that's
right,
fine.
excellent, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the regular report. Route 46 bridge replacement, no further delays. Weather's been working with that contractor. Concrete pours are happening on schedule. I think they are on deck pour number 3 now and concurrently pouring the parapet walls for the project. At 723 and 460, citizens can expect to see some movement out there on that project next week. Contractor J.R. Caskey is going to mobilize on that project, begin installing the construction signage and some survey staking. Right now, lane closures are planned to begin on April 28th. We'll have alternating lane closures throughout the project.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
We have somebody giving a report up here. If you guys want to chat, you can step outside. Okay? Go ahead, sir.
Recently learned of some sidewalk ADA accommodation projects coming to a couple sections of sidewalk in the town of Crew. These are on VDOT maintained sections of sidewalk in town. Mainly ramp changes where we're installing ADA compliant ramps on the sidewalks at intersections. Going to be sections on 460, both sides of 460 on the eastern end of Crew and along Carolina Avenue from Tyler Street to Powell Street. Crystal Lake Road Roll Rustic is still on schedule to begin next month, as I said. Should be a pretty easy Roll Rustic for the Nottoway crew to knock out. We have had a district-wide, actually, they called it a systemic unsignalized intersection safety improvement study, where they looked at a bunch of unsignalized intersections in the district and made recommendations. Nottoway County has 2 intersections that are going to get some changes through this study and funding. They are at the intersections of Spainville Road and Old Richmond Road, and at the intersection of Turkey Island Road and Cellar Creek Road, mainly just signage. Warning signage of the intersection when you're coming to the T intersections on Spainville and Old Richmond. If you're familiar with that intersection, when you get to Old Richmond, there'll be arrows indicating that, hey, this is a T intersection. Motorists will soon be hitting rumble strips on Route 360 in Nottoway County. They're being installed on 360 through Nottoway and Amelia in the next couple weeks. These will be edge line rumble strips aimed to reduce run off the road crashes. route was identified as needing them based. Typically, they base the rumble strip installation off of crash data. However, these are not typical rumble strips. So most of your centerline rumble strips, when you hear rumble strip, you think real abrupt, loud shaking. Those, and I'm going to do my best to describe these, those are typical rumble strips. They're milled in a U kind of fashion. The rumble strips that we're going to have out here are sinusoidal. So instead of being milled like a U, they're milled like a sinusoidal wave. And so instead of the tire hitting them square, the tire ramps up and falls. And so it's not as loud. It generates less complaints from the public in
Is this
residents.
like the ones you got in the middle of 49?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay.
So they don't disturb the neighbors as much, but they keep the cars in their lanes.
Yes, sir. It's not jarring for the driver. It's just a reminder, hey, look, wake up or take your eyes off your phone without disturbing as many residents. Nottoway Area Headquarters crew did replace that cross pipe on Ridge Road this week. Everything went well with that. And our slurry seal contract has wrapped up in the county. Surface treatment's ongoing, and our plant mix contracts are expected to begin next 2 weeks. We got all the signs posted on Chute Road, the speed limit signs, as well as the school bus signs. Early next week, we're going to issue a notice to proceed to our contract mowers as well. So when we issue that notice to proceed, they've got 10 days to respond. We're going to do primary and secondary mowing concurrently with the goal to have everything mowed before Memorial Day. That is all that I have. Any questions or
All right,
comments?
I don't think so. Any questions from the board? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, looks like we got about 4 or 5 more minutes.
Yeah, we got 4 or 5 minutes. Yes, sir.
Do we have to read the policy or just adopt it?
No, we just
You just adopt it, you got it?
I'll make a move. We adopt it.
So we have to add it to the agenda.
Yeah, you got it,
Yeah,
you got it, amend the agenda,
Okay.
and probably do
You want me-
it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it for the indication.
So he can see it.
Right.
April 17th, Nottoway County Board of Supervisors, 7 PM. We're going to call it into open session. First thing we have to do is adopt a new ordinance. Mr. Ingram.
In accordance with section 2.2-3708.3 of the Code of Virginia, the following policy is established for supervisors' remote participation in meetings of the Board of Supervisors of Nottoway County, Virginia, herein referred to as the board. A supervisor may participate in a meeting through electronic communication means from a remote location only as follows. Permissible reasons for remote participation: disability or medical condition. Supervisor has a temporary or permanent disability or other medical condition that prevents the supervisor's physical attendance. I'm gonna skip over them. That's basically what we're doing. Residents more than 60 miles away, that's not, and a personal matter not to a personal, supervisor unable to attend meeting due to a personal matter, and the supervisor identifies with specificity the nature of the personal matter. Limitation, this is under personal matter. The supervisor may not use remote participation due to personal matters more than 2 meetings per calendar year, or 25% of the meetings held per calendar year rounded up to the next whole number, whichever is greater. Procedure: a quorum of the board must be physically assembled at the meeting location. At the meeting, prior to conducting any business, the board must vote to allow the participation of the supervisors electronically. A supervisor shall be permitted to participate electronically so long as the participation is consistent with this policy. If a supervisor's electronic participation is disapproved because of such participation would violate this policy, such disapproval shall be recorded in the minutes with specificity. Why did I volunteer to do this? Once participation by a member through electronic communication means is approved by a vote of the quorum that is physically assembled, the minutes must reflect the reason why the member participated electronically and the location from which the member participated. However, the remote location need not be open to the public and may be identified in the minutes by a general description. If a remote participation is approved due to a temporary or permanent disability or other medical condition or due to a family member's medical condition that requires the care of the supervisor, the meeting minutes shall state as such. If electronic participation is due to the distance between the supervisor's principal residence and the meeting location, this shall be included in the minutes along with the location of the board meeting.
I need a motion.
Wait a minute, got a little bit on the back. If electronic participation is due to a personal matter, minutes should reflect the specific nature of the personal matter. For any remote participation by electronic communication means, arrangements shall be made for the voice of the supervisors to be heard by all persons in attendance at the meeting location. Application: this policy shall be applied strictly and uniformly without exception to the entire membership and without regard to the identity of the supervisor requesting remote participation or the matters which will be considered or voted upon at the meeting. This policy is adopted by the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors for itself on behalf of its committees and subcommittees.
Is that in the form of a motion?
Yes, sir.
I need a second.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Rourke, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
I believe you had a statement for the public.
I think we forwarded that in case something went wrong with the ordinance. I believe it was forwarded back to you guys with
Okay.
my approval.
Okay, you can find it, and then read it when we get ready to go into open session here. I'd like to call to order, and then we had invocation, and that's going to be
Ted Fusion, Blackstone Baptist.
Blackstone Baptist Church is here.
Yeah, Reverend Fusion.
Please, come on up, sir.
I think he was here last month, and he got lucky again. He got blessed.
Somebody said, and they're done that, gonna do it again.
There you go.
Good, we appreciate you.
On behalf of the ministers group, it's a privilege to represent them and to say we appreciate your allowing one of us to come and lead in prayer. I like to base my prayer life on what's in the Bible, and it says in 2 Timothy chapter 2, first of all, I urge supplications, prayers, intercessions, thanksgiving made for everyone, for kings and all who are in high positions, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and dignity. This is right and is acceptable in the sight of God our Savior. Let us pray. Dear Lord, for these who
Yes, sir.
serve you and care about you, we pray, Lord, you will bless them tonight with wisdom. We especially pray that you will help John Rourke as he continues to recover and get his strength, that he'll be able to show up and do his work as he wants to do it. But on this night, Lord, grant that each of them shall do the best they know, that together their service to all of us in this community will make it a safer and better community in which to live. And may all of those, Lord, who serve us in other places in this town and in this whole area, may they sense the presence that is you, as you guide us to do what is right, to care for each other, and to protect one another according to the law and according to your goodness. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray, amen.
Amen.
I'll need a motion for the ability of Supervisor John Rourke to participate remotely.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome aboard, John.
Thank you. I've got my statement here.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Fellow supervisors and members of the public, can you hear me okay, Mr. Chairman?
I believe we can. Everybody in the audience here? Go ahead, John.
Okay. First and foremost, thank you for the continued thoughts and prayers for my recovery. Based on the continued strides in my recovery, it is my intent to continue to serve on the Board of Supervisors as a representative of District 2. But now, in accordance with the county's remote participation policy, I will virtually attend all public meetings and will be available via electronic communication if needed. I look forward to being able to continue my work as your supervisor and appreciate everyone's support during my continued recovery. And God bless you all. And it's great to hear this team to be as one again.
All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, John.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to its republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any amendments to the minutes? Approval of minutes? Any changes?
No, sir, the Virginia Department of Transportation, Mr. Chairman, had already gave the report, and that's G1, so we can just knock that out.
Okay, we'll just remove that as an amendment.
That's it.
Like a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to move on to delegations from the public. So we've got two public hearings, and then we have our general delegations from the public. So if you're going to speak on behalf of a public hearing, you may not do it now, but let's see. Looks like we only have one, Mr. Abbott. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and a special hello to my fellow constituent from District 2, Mr. Rohr. Please understand that I'm presenting as a resident and not in any other capacity.
Hello? Please understand that
If the data I've received is accurate, the interest earned on monies held by the county is in excess of the budgeted $350,000. Yes, greater than what was projected. It would be foolish of me to think that that increase would trigger a tax reduction, wouldn't it? Now, this will be the third time that I've raised the question on what the Code of Virginia, or why the Code of Virginia isn't being followed. Now, recall 58.13160. I ask, what is the actual total of all funds held by the county? The audit report suggests several situations, some good and others not so. What is the actual reserve in dollars, and can it be shown mathematically? As outlined in your book tonight, investments were reported in the previous month at $15.5 million. And this month, $14.5 million. Can anyone suggest where the $1 million went? And please, this isn't the first time I've asked that question. If you'll recall, the auditor indicated the county had $22.5 million. Is the difference the amount held by the LRA and the IDA? I asked the reserve total since investments plus LRA plus IDA, generally speaking, suggest there couldn't be a reserve. I look forward to your responses this evening or at a later date.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
could I give a quick question to Mr. Abbott, please?
Sure, Mr. Abbott, come on up. Go ahead, Mr. Rourke.
Mr. Abbott, any way you ask the question, I consider it a FOIA. Is that what you are stating, that a FOIA hasn't been answered about your two burning questions about all the monies and the $1 million?
No, sir, I have not prepared or administered a FOIA. It's been simply at these meetings that I've asked that question.
Okay, well, we'll see about getting the answer to your question, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to close delegations from the public for general items. Now I need a motion to open a hearing, landfill fee increase.
So moved.
So moved.
All right. Ms. Norton, you be second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Abbott.
Mr. Chairman, members of
Yes.
the board, again, Mr. Rourke, I just simply have a question.
Okay.
I don't have an aversion to increasing those fees. But look at the one for tires. I believe it says $100 for
200 per ton.
$200 per ton.
Right.
Okay, that's 10 cents a pound, or something less than that. The average tire weighs 20 pounds, I'm guessing. How does a person that wants to dispose of a tire, is it prorated?
No, you got, what's it, four?
As a
The fir-
citizen, you can
bring
deliver
four
forward.
down there for free.
Right.
So this is a commercial situation. Somebody bringing in a load of tires from,
Well, that's if someone
Tire
brings in a
shop.
load of tires. Someone might save them up. I'm just curious to think that if you bring in 5 tires, you're gonna pay something.
I don't know what it would
so
be.
you could
that
bring
going to
4
be
one
a-
day and then bring one
Is
another day.
it gonna be a prorated number?
It would have to be, but anyway, but we'd have a,
If you prorate that, I would respectfully suggest you charge an amount, $5 a tire after
instead of
4,
getting in per ton, I
or
got you.
something of that nature.
Okay.
But it's really hard to do that if somebody brings a truckload of them, if it's 200 in that. You see what I'm saying? Nobody's gonna sit there and count those tires. They have to go across the scales and come back. So I guess it all depends on the situation. Is that what, fair statement?
So you'd say
I
a
would
citizen
think-
should
I
pay
would
a
think so.
fee?
I don't know how, personally, I do not know how often
Okay.
the site
Will-
receives a truckload of tires, I would think that there's a greater opportunity for somebody to take up a smaller number.
Yeah, and usually that's 4.
Just suggesting that there be some consideration. Thank you.
Okay.
Charge them too much, they dump it on the side of the road.
That's what we're trying, that's why that 4 is free, so people hopefully won't do that when they change their tires.
And we did have, I think 2 of us had discussions today with Mr. Lafferty, who is a contract hauler. He picks up residential trash. So he called with some concerns. We had 2 conversations with him and answered his questions, let him know what we were doing. He was unable to come tonight, but he did want to let everybody know that he'd shared his thoughts. Anybody else for the landfill public hearing? Anyone else? I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I'd like to get a motion to adopt that and move on.
I'd like a motion to adopt the fees as advertised for the
I so
Nottoway
move.
County landfill. And a
I so
second?
move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you,
All
board.
right, that's adopted. All right. This public hearing is going to be solar ordinance amendments. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. So we got 12. Everybody like 5 minutes? Like an hour. 5 minutes apiece? Okay. I'd like a motion to open the hearing on the solar ordinance amendments.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, do you want Mr. Zodi to bulletproof the change and
I would say yes. Let's present
Bullet.
the changes, and then we'll start
Yeah.
with the public speakers.
Okay, good evening. Mr. Rourke, can you hear me, sir?
He's probably got you muted. He's fine.
Okay.
We're good.
I wouldn't blame him. Okay, real quick, the changes are to remove under definitions, to remove the 50-acre cap and 50 acre or 5 megawatt cap, and instead replace it for a total of 170 megawatts for the whole county. And also from the Planning Commission was to remove the term medium scale, because under this scenario, we wouldn't have a medium scale. Size would be mute. The other, just touching on the others, are the landscaping, and I think most importantly from what I heard Tuesday night was regarding the setbacks. Most of the folks who attended the public hearing, we had 7 on Tuesday night at the Planning Commission meeting, and most of the folks represent themselves as representatives for the solar, well, that was redundant. They're from the solar interests, and they talked about, from what I took down, the gist of it was the solar, the setbacks are not, there's not enough flexibility, but I would cite 190, page 3 of the proposal. Well, that's not even a proposal. This is in the ordinance now. It's under 4-19-4. Folks can come in and request from the Planning Commission and or the Board of Supervisors a reduction. And again, this goes back to the genesis of when we took this up last year, was is going to be based on topography and then vulnerabilities of the area, such as wetlands and
So they may have one side might have a little less setback.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I think that's perfectly reasonable.
We do have to remove something from the public hearing or from the proposal. In conversations with Dominion Power, they don't have the ability to supervise a site, so that can be strict. That's 5-7,
Okay?
I think, or no, it's 7.
Okay.
Any developer issued a permit shall be supervised by Dominion Power. Dominion Power does not have the manpower to do that.
Okay.
So we're
Thank you.
stricken that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Stricken. We do, there was a landscaping changes as well. And then the last substantial change was item 6 under 4-19-10 regarding federal, state, and local requirements that all DEQ fines will be matched by the developer and paid to Nottoway County. And to cut back to the Planning Commission meeting, after some discussion amongst the Planning Commission members, They made a motion of 8-0 to deny these recommendations and forward it on to you all. Their sentiment was they preferred the previous, well, the ordinance we currently
The more
have.
restrictive.
Yes, sir. Okay? And I did receive a phone call from a property owner yesterday, and I encouraged her to send an email, and I trust that y'all received an email today from the citizen. Okay. Thank you.
Sonny Abbott, he must have been the first one in the room tonight.
Thank you again, and yes, I
Sir?
was.
Okay,
It's alphabetical order, maybe.
I won't use near 5 minutes.
okay.
My concern is the vernacular used in the ordinance. We went from 5 megs to 170 megs. We went from 50 acres to some unknown quantity of acres. I know it's a math question, but where is the simplified form, very similar to what Mr. Zodi just gave, of all of those words that took up a quarter of a page in the newspaper to explain exactly what's happening, so that it is easier to understand if we're going to have a phenomenal solar farm or something smaller than phenomenal. It's difficult to understand when.
In the comprehensive plan, if I can answer you, I believe I can answer. In the comprehensive plan, it talks about the amount of power that is produced in Nottoway County, or is used in Nottoway County, and we can't produce more. So in trying to find an answer to that, I contacted Dominion Power. Mark Hardaway, I think his name is Hadaway, and he let us know that Nottoway uses about 170 megawatts, which could translate into 1,700 acres if you said 10 per 100. But because of site topographies, wetlands, there's no way to say, okay, it's going to be 1,700 acres, or it's going to be 1,701. We can measure a megawatt that's being produced, and that's why we did that.
So if you can measure a megawatt, you ought to be able to measure what a panel produces and determine how many panels it would take. I appreciate that these are math questions, and I recognize that it was in the strategic plan.
So
But if it's 1,700 acres, sir, if you'll give me the opportunity,
Sure.
that could be 10, could that be 17 100-acre
Yep.
fields, if that were the case? But how many panels and so on? That's some of the concern that we have is the lack of information. So if the information's provided, you have a greater understanding of what's being asked of the county. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Abbott, one thing, don't call them farms.
Okay, whatever the correct
Industrial
vernacular is,
site.
whatever anyone wants
Industrial
to call
site.
them. The solar panel hangouts.
There you go, thank you.
Mr. Page, Chris Page.
It's been a while since I've been here. Welcome back, John.
Thank you for coming.
Sure.
So, you bring up some interesting points. Before I get into my speech here, can I ask you, you said you can't do more than 170. What's the reason for that?
You could.
We could, so we can. Okay.
We have to advertise it and get it approved.
Right,
Just
gotcha.
like this. This is, to me, is a good step.
Is that because it's in the comprehensive plan
Yeah,
at
we're
170?
recognizing the comprehensive plan, but also, we've all read articles about solar farms in other counties. And so if you go big, right, 500 megawatts, have you made a big mistake or a small mistake? Or none? No mistake.
Right.
Let's see how it goes.
On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, the county's proposed projects, including a new courthouse, animal shelter, and radio system, they will undoubtedly benefit the county, and they're needed. And some of them were being forced upon us. However, the accompanying tax increases over the next 5 years will harm local businesses. It could cost jobs and stop economic development and growth. As we consider these projects that you have to pay for, we urge you to also consider the long-term benefits of solar. Allowing something, not 1,000 megawatts or anything like that, but something up to 3 where you could get some viable projects, 300 megawatts, would bring in at least a revenue stream in the next 4 years or so, and could be a much-needed light at the end of the tunnel for citizens and businesses. The Planning Commission's recommendations are just that, they are recommendations. So is our comprehensive plan, which, by the way, we didn't have one for about 10 years. So we put a lot of weight on the Planning Commission, we put a lot of weight that they're doing the right thing, but we didn't even force them to get this comprehensive plan until a few years ago. And now they've made a recommendation not to follow a comprehensive plan, which is you're gonna allow solar to generate no more than what the county, does. They wanna keep it as restrictive as it is, so. The comprehensive plans itself are just a suggestion and they're a guide. And they're not binding, so you can't change them. So we actually request that you pass a less restrictive solar ordinance, allowing for viable projects that could generate income and help alleviate the tax burden on our community. By doing so, we could create opportunities, not obstacles, and work towards a brighter future for the county. The county and the Planning Commission have done nothing but drag their feet on this particular issue for many years. Some of that income could have been coming in, and now that we're being forced to do projects, the burden's on the back of landowners, citizens who own property, and of course, businesses that are already spending, their expenditures are higher than they've ever been before. This could be a job killer not opening up solar. The taxes, are gonna cost businesses to cut back and stop economic development. So we need to balance the budget's needs with economic development and growth. And a forward-thinking approach to solar can benefit both our community and our local businesses. So I hope you'll consider a less restrictive solar ordinance. Thank you.
Hey,
Well
Chris,
said, Mr. Page, thank you.
we might have a question. I do particular, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Go back, and you and I had a brief conversation, and both of us got interrupted the other day by something. Less restrictive. So the 170 proposed megawatts, which is roughly 1,700 acres, Mr. Abbott, under panel, to generate 170 kilowatts. You suggesting we increase that? And
Yeah.
in your suggestion of increasing that, you saying that would be less restrictive or more restrictive?
Well, if your proposed ordinance is to allow 170 megawatts, and you say pass 300 instead, that would be less restrictive because you're allowing more.
Less restrictive for which part?
Less restrictive than what you advertised, if you understand what I'm
Well,
saying.
if you increase it, how is that less restrictive?
Well, because you're allowing more solar than you advertised that you were gonna allow, so that's
I
being a
think
To
less
his point,
restrictive ordinance.
there's those in this room that would believe that you've affected them by increasing because they don't want any.
I had a conversation with the county attorney, Gary L., and I asked him the question that I told you I did.
What?
And he and I both agreed that what may be less restrictive to one may be more restrictive to another.
And you're talking on a personal level. I'm talking about what you advertise as an ordinance. We're talking
No,
about.
it's really not a personal,
Right.
we got an attorney right there. That's not personal. We're gonna find out the legality of it. If we increase this tonight from 170 to 300, is that less restrictive or more restrictive?
I mean, it's a great question. I think there is a restriction of 175. I think if you're increasing the amount of solar that's permitted, it would be less restrictive.
So if you're increasing, it would be less restrictive.
That restriction is currently in our current ordinance. It's not the one that you're being proposed. Is that correct?
No, it's the one being proposed.
Okay. So you're proposing an ordinance, and you're proposing to cap it at 170. Okay. So that's your cap. That's your restriction in the proposed ordinance. If you allow more than 170, that would be less restrictive. If you lowered it and you said, no, we're only going to allow 80, that would be a more restrictive ordinance than you advertised.
It's a restriction based on what you're allowing the constituents to do.
I understand.
All right.
So again, to my point, what's less restrictive to one, and Gary agreed with me on this, could be more restrictive to another. So if John Doe doesn't want solar and you allowing more acres of solar, then you're being more restrictive to him versus less restrictive. Because now it's two ways of looking at that.
And I agree that.
And it's
it
not a
should be looked
personal
at that
way.
but
I may be wrong.
Yeah.
It's not personal. It's a right or a wrong.
I will say this, you guys as legislators are allowed to pass, after public hearings, something less restrictive than what you
I agree with that,
advertised.
and I knew that.
And so allowing more than the cap that you put on it would generally be considered less restrictive, in my opinion.
We need to find out the actual harden
Thank you, Mr.
hard rock to
Page.
that if we could, Catherine, please.
That's why we're here tonight, bud.
Chairman,
We're less restrictive tonight, but we had to do the public hearing. Go ahead, Mr. Rourke.
Mr. Chairman, I think, and forgive me if this is not meant to be abrasive by any means, but I think we may be getting a little too deep in the weeds here with this, because I think where our focus ought to be is the ordinance, the words in the ordinance itself, and not so much as to personal feelings. So I would ask the attorney to clarify the ordinance and not what one person may take personal and person may take another way. I mean, let's clarify the ordinance as it's worded, because to me, by adding more acreage, it's less restrictive and not more restrictive.
Correct. But that's, we're here about what we advertise, so let's stick.
And nothing more.
And nothing, let's stick with what we advertised. Thank you, Mr. Rourke. We're gonna have Bobby Rodriguez. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back, Supervisor Rourke. My name is Bobby, and tonight I'm speaking on the behalf of 25 of your constituents who believe that solar is a prime opportunity to generate revenue in the county and to keep taxes low. Our landowners also believe that they should lawfully be able to do what they'd like with their land. One question I hear very often is, how do I know that solar is safe? At Ampliform, the panels that we use are metal and glass. And the tracking systems that we use require minimal grading. Another question that I hear very often is about the efficiency of solar panels. And at Ampliform, we do not use public money. We are a private developer using private funds. Solar is also an unlimited resource. We don't need to frack it, we don't need to mine it, we don't need to ship it in from overseas. So the timeline of Rocky Ford Solar. We are, if the proposed amendment is passed tonight, prepared to be in construction by 2027 and operational by 2028. So when you're considering your votes tonight, I ask that you also consider the rights of your landowners and the revenue that solar will bring to the county for things like the courthouse renovation and equipment for emergency responses that can actually help save people's lives. Thank you very much.
I have a question. Ma'am, have you ever heard of a good neighbor agreement?
Yes, sir.
And what that does is it tells the neighbors next door that you'll pay them if they will not oppose the proposed solar facility, correct?
As far as I know, that is correct.
And it says it's got to be kept confidential.
I don't know if that's in every case, but I know somebody here who would know that for sure.
Neighbor agrees to cooperate with developer in connection with the project, but including but not limited to the developer's efforts to obtain any permit, entitlement, approval, authorization, or other rights necessary or convenient in connection with the project. If the neighbor has any concerns regarding the project, the neighbor will communicate directly with the developer to resolve such issues. Further, a neighbor will not in any manner, directly or indirectly, interfere with the project and/or permitting development or construction activities relating to the project. As a result, neighbor agrees not to intervene in or otherwise appear as a party in any regulatory or other proceeding to oppose, delay, or stay or block the permitting, construction, development, and/or operation of the project. And it goes on to say, both parties agree to keep this agreement and the contents of this agreement, including the payment, strictly confidential, provided, however, that developer may disclose this agreement to its affiliates and their advisors, consultants, actual or potential investors, and actual or potential financing parties. Do you have one in Nottoway County?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Okay, so you don't have a good neighbor agreement in Nottoway County.
Not to my
All right,
knowledge.
who are the 25 constituents?
So
There's 15,000 people in Nottoway County. You only got 25 that agree with this?
So A lot of the land expansion work that we're doing is based on what you're gonna vote in tonight. So there could definitely, and there will definitely be more than 25, but 25 is what we have signed and what we have in
Is
contracting.
that what you got off your Facebook ad? I saw it.
Yeah,
All right, Mr. Ingram, she is a
missing
guest,
the
so
point.
let's.
That's good.
Let's,
Bobby, I'd like to.
I'm just
ask you a
asking questions, that's all.
no,
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Bobby a question? This is to follow up with Mr. Abbott's question. Do you know how many megawatts a panel produces? Is there a way to determine that?
one panel, I'm sure that there's some mathematical equation that,
so if you do 10 acres, that's generally a megawatt. And on 10
Yeah.
acres, you can fit,
we're looking at, what we see is 7 to 10 megawatts per acre.
per acre.
Sorry, 7 to 10 acres a megawatt. And for this topography, we're looking closer around the 7, I think.
And a quick answer to that would be, I would say, I don't think all them solar panels are the same size, are they?
As far as I know, they are.
They are all the same size,
Well,
from
maybe
whatever,
depending on which brand you're going with.
right,
they
that's
could
what I
be a
mean.
little bit different.
Okay.
So that's a difficult answer to say how many
It's very
panels are gonna
difficult
be
answer.
on each acre.
But it's really easy to say that it's 170 acres under panel or 1,700 acres under panel. That's enough. I mean,
170
that suits
megawatts.
me to know that it's 1,700 acres under panel.
Under panel, yes. Within the fence line is different.
Within the fence line would be different, right. And the distance in between the panels, that the grass be maintained and the whatever's need to be done will perhaps vary from company to company. I don't know that.
Yeah, and from site to site.
Some people use a 30-row corn planter and some people use a 6-row corn planter. But both of it gets to feel a corn plant, Ms. Dinger.
That's correct.
Ms. Rodriguez, we appreciate you coming and speaking.
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. We've got Paul Cozens or Cozers? Which one?
It's Cousins, sorry.
Cousins.
I did not have good handwriting.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right, Mr. Cousins, floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and welcome back Supervisor Rourke. I've spoken with you all a few times over the last couple of months, so I'll be brief. My name is Paul Cousins. I'm a project manager with CEP Solar. That's Commonwealth Energy Partners. We're a Richmond-based developer that only works in the state of Virginia. We're working on actually 3 projects in Nottoway County, but for the sake of time, I'll just talk about one of our projects. It's called Sunnyside Solar. It's right outside of Crewe. It's a small-scale project. We're looking at about 3 megawatts right now. That's our queue position that we have. We actually have a interconnection agreement that's reaching the late stages of study, and we can expect to sign that interconnection agreement by the end of this year, which means it's a small project. It could be under construction by the end of 2026 and operating in 2027. That means significant upfront revenue. Even though it's a small project, it's significant upfront revenue with the siting agreement, and then we're looking at a 30 times tax increase. It's a small amount of acres, but it is a significant change in the taxes that are coming from that than what the parcel is currently producing. The parcel is completely off of the road. It won't be visible from the road. It won't be seen, heard, or smelled from anywhere. I'm saying this because this ordinance that's proposed, it definitely has been an improvement, but it still wouldn't work for a small project like we have. 300-foot setbacks really just completely exclude small landowners that want to host these small projects on their land. If the board does choose to go with these 300-foot setbacks, I would ask and hope that there's some, like was said, there's some mechanism where we could make a special exception and reduce based on topography and the site location. I think these sites should be viewed individually and presented individually and kind of reviewed on a case-by-case basis so people can come and talk about their projects individually and what they can bring to the community. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Cousins? Okay. Esther Reckelman?
Good evening, Supervisors.
Good evening, thank you for coming.
Thank you. As you know, my name is Esther Reckelman. I'm a senior project developer with Hexagon Energy. I believe I've met with many of you before. As most of you might know, I'm working on a 3-megawatt solar facility down in Burkeville. We've been working on this project for about 5 years now with the landowner, and I regard him as second family now. We actually just got back from a late lunch, and he's really excited to see that this project might actually come to fruition. As a bit of a reminder, the project, like I said, is 3 megawatts. It's going to be about 19 acres within the fence line out of the larger 121-acre parcel. It's cut off on 2 sides by a railroad, and we believe it's perfectly screened from any surrounding properties. I'm really happy to see a lot of the improvements to the solar ordinance that we're talking about today that allow small projects like ours at least a chance to move forward. That being said, my remaining critique is the recommended setbacks of 300 feet from property lines and 1,200 feet from residences. My recommendation would be potentially to add a short statement in that section that is 4-19-7 that says, for 5 megawatt projects or less, the recommended setbacks shall be 150 feet from public right-of-ways, 300 feet from habitable dwellings, and 150 feet from property lines. If these changes were added, it would make our project and small projects like ours a lot more of a reality, and I believe it would also make your jobs easier because it would allow you to pass these projects with very specific regulations to projects of that size. Aside from that, we meet the other requirements of the ordinance and have a project that we believe was thoughtfully designed to fit the landscape, unseen and unheard by neighbors. Aside from the lasting tax revenue increase that this project will add, Hexagon does have a history of investing in the communities where we work, donating to local priorities like parks, fire departments, emergency services, and schools, and we're excited to get started on that type of community work as soon as we can and not just the first day the project is built. We do plan on knocking on doors of the neighbors to let them know that this project is happening, inviting them to community meetings. We do not have any good neighbor agreements for any of our projects across the state of Virginia. I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I believe you have my email. If you could send your thoughts about the setback language on under 5 megawatt.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ms. Ruckelman.
In that vein,
Are you?
I have a copy prepared to hand out to everyone.
Okay. Let's,
This is purely just along the lines of 5 megawatts or under.
okay. Mr. Taylor? Dylan Taylor? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Like I said, my name is Dylan Taylor. I work with Energy Right. I know my colleague Blake Cox. I'm filling in for him tonight. As you all consider ordinance language in regards to solar, we encourage you to keep an eye on property rights, meaning someone can do what they want with their land as long as they are not negatively affecting their neighborhood community. But also be mindful of the economic growth opportunities that come along with clean energy investments. We believe that solar projects should pay their fair share in taxes to the county so that all residents can benefit. It is important to remember that additional tax revenues from solar projects do not strain on public services like other types of development demand. These tax dollars can help the county lower taxes on citizens or go to repairing roads, infrastructure, funding schools, or first responders. While there are many aspects of the ordinance that are good, like the decommissioning language, community engagement, and various environmental studies, the setbacks will make it difficult for projects to be sited in the county. We commend the county for being thoughtful to allow for exceptions or variances to setbacks, but unfortunately, this will still be a red flag for solar companies looking to invest in Nottoway. This same situation currently exists in one of your neighboring counties in Fluvanna. Fluvanna had a similar outlook that they wanted responsible solar projects for economic benefits, but they wanted to also insert larger setbacks for projects with a variance to allow for supervisors to raise and lower those setbacks where they see fit. But when they approved their ordinance with this language, no companies have yet to apply within the county. Now, you will all probably still have a couple applications come in, but our concern is that these setbacks will prevent future companies and developments from applying to allow for the county to maximize the economic benefits from solar projects. Our suggestion would be to lower the setbacks to 150 feet, but to still allow for variance or exception where supervisors can raise and lower setbacks where they see fit. This accomplishes the goal you all have of being able to have some flexibility to change the setbacks where you see fit, but also shows that the county is open to accepting reasonable projects. Last Energy Right, thank you for your diligent and thoughtful work on this ordinance, and please feel free to reach out to myself or Blake Cox if you have any questions or ever want us to be a resource. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Joanne Scott Webb. Good evening, Ms. Witt.
I'm going to be brief tonight. Having seen past generations often own land and timberland, and then they died and the heirs broke it up and all the solid assets were gone quickly. Objectively, if you own land, hope to keep it together, the family for more generations, leaving them solid assets. Solar is the only good option I know of for you and your heirs. Think of it as an application for you and your heirs. Think about it. My dad often said, if you can make it past the third generation, honey, you may have something going. Some choose conservation easements. Daddy did several of those. He came to regret that very much. They can take your easement and place it on another piece of property. They've broken conservation easements and development. David Linesberger with Hersler and Flesher told us at a forestry meeting. I think really it's probably a Ponzi scheme, excuse me. Solar production is much slower project than it was in 2015. There's a lot to learn about solar, and it's still evolving. But as a landowner, you can negotiate and push back if needed. You have much more control than you realize over the development. I had a project that started in 2019. A few years later, I said, I'm done. I'm not going to do it. I'm done. Didn't hear from him for a year. He came back and said, what do you want? I gave him my list. I got it done. In closing, private property rights still exist in America. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Scott Webb. Mr. Tatum, Dennis Tatum.
Good hearing your voice again, John. Hope you can hear me.
He might have it muted. He's watching you on the video.
Okay, well, thank y'all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. Thanks for coming.
And I hope y'all look at the ordinance real hard on this solar panels. Been working hard for it for 5 years. I don't appreciate Dickie talking to Bobby like he did. That was very rude and disrespectful of you. That's showing the county you don't have nothing to offer. Nothing.
That's your opinion.
I'm doing something to help this county, to bring revenue to the county, not somebody call it her. I appreciate everything y'all have done for me, and hope this thing goes forward. She does not need disrespect. And thank y'all for everything.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum.
Thank you.
Ms. Wooten, Rose Wooten. Good to see you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Chairman and board, I'm here again tonight about the solar again. Y'all see me pretty regularly. I want to thank the Planning Committee that made the solar ordinance and all the work and time they put into making that and the research they did for the ordinance that they sent to you and they approved it, sent it to you for approval, and you approved it. So I feel that the original ordinance approved by the Board of Supervisors in 2024 should stand as it is without any changes. I do feel that if you decrease the setbacks with the possible increase of acreage or megawatts in the county, it would be detrimental to what we have in the county as a rural county. I listened to your statements about, the acreage, whatever. Here's a feeling thing again, is it, restrictive or not? So, but anyway, thank you again. Hopefully you'll vote for keeping it as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wooten. Mike Mason.
Good evening, Board, Chairman, and especially to Mr. John Rourke. I think there's very little left to say about this subject at this stage, other than that yet another county in the state has decided that the cons outweigh the pros, and they have decided no more. The list is growing. I've attended probably 95% of the solar meetings in this county over the course of the last 4 years or so since they tried to slip that Dickerson Creek project in. By far, I feel, it's not my feeling, I know, by far the most well-attended meeting was Burkeville Town Hall. The participation rate was high in that meeting. The takeaway from it was that the citizens of the county do not want solar. Now, these are the same citizens that elected the board. And it's not the people that have imposed these financial constraints and hardships and obligations on you and most of the people in this audience that are taxpayers. It's the citizens that said that they do not want it. And Mr. Rourke, I appreciate you having that meeting because it spoke volumes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Sean Haney.
Guys, thanks for having us here tonight. And John, glad that you're back with everyone, Mr. Bowen. There are folks here that are speaking on behalf of solar. There are folks speaking against solar. There are folks acknowledging that Nottoway County has passed a solar ordinance. As a citizen, as a resident of Nottoway County, and I think if I could offer anything that might be helpful, it would be this. Do not do anything that doesn't give you the flexibility to look at anything that comes before you and judge it on its merits. And do not feel that you have to pass an ordinance that says it has to look exactly like this or exactly like that. Other than that, I appreciate the hard work that you're doing, and I just encourage you to keep open mind and leave yourself flexibility to support the ordinance that you pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Haney. Mr. Hawthorne.
This is what he.
Before I'm gonna give my comments.
Good evening.
Good
Thank you
evening.
for coming.
I know sarcasm when I hear it. It's good to see you all. Before I begin my comments, just a little word on the handout. The handout recites for you the Virginia Code under the Clean Energy Policy, Title 45. And you notice down at the bottom of the relevant code section, it says a local ordinance shall encourage the development of these small projects. And at the top, it says that the ordinances shall be in compliance with the policy. So I offer that because I think the ordinance, the way it is now, may very well run afoul of the state code. And again, I'm just talking about the smaller projects, the 5 megawatts and under, because those are the only projects that qualify as distribution projects. So I highly encourage the board to consider amending its ordinance with the suggested language that Ms. Reckelhelm mentioned a little bit earlier. It's just a simple little proviso that says for distribution projects, I would recommend your setbacks be 150 and 300 for the houses. But regarding all solar projects, to pick up where Sean Haney just left off, I strongly encourage whatever ordinance you adopt to have your flexible language in there. You want to have language that allows you to be more restrictive. You may have a project that comes before you, it may check all the boxes, but it might not be properly screened with those setbacks. You might want more setback. You might have noise concerns, you might have development concerns. So keep the flexible language to reduce, to possibly increase your restrictions, but also to reduce your restrictions through what, yes, is a good neighbor agreement. I'm not aware of anything that is illegal or wrong about agreeing with your neighbor to jointly enter into any kind of economic development project. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen someone come before any board in my 32 years of appearing before local municipal bodies and say, we are prepared to proceed under the rules that you're getting ready to set, and then be berated for playing by the rules you're getting ready to set. That's the beatingest thing I've ever seen. So anyway, comments. For 8 years, we have been wrestling with this issue. And my comments are really not so much for you all. Y'all have all heard my comments. My comments are more for the citizens of this county, particularly the citizens of this county. Most of the opposition you've heard from regarding solar historically for those 8 years have not been from citizens of this county. Most of the opposition you've heard come from outside of this county. They may own property in this county, but they don't come from the county. You've heard from numerous citizens, including the 25 that Bobby purports to represent. I've talked to many of them myself. There are lots of people that want economic development. There's lots of people that don't want you to go up on taxes again. Twice in a year? If Nottoway would reasonably entertain solar projects and retain the flexibility to assess them on a case-by-case basis, then it could have all the revenue it needs to meet its future costs that we know are coming. The animal shelter, the school improvements, the courthouse project, the emergency response system. If Nottoway would reasonably handle solar, and this is a good start, it's a good start, and I think by making it a little easier for the smaller projects, you might get a comfort level, and allowing the projects that do comply with your rather onerous restrictions to go forward. I think you'll find that the revenue that's generated will meet the needs that that the county is facing. Unlike an onerous tax increase, a solar project involves a willing landowner, a willing developer, and a willing purchaser of the power. No one is compelled to do anything. They are free to enter into that agreement and that endeavor. They're not stepping or infringing on anyone else's rights. Another tax increase necessarily infringes upon all of our rights, all of those that pay taxes in Nottoway County. So while no one is compelled in a solar arrangement, the alternative is for you to compel us to pay more taxes. And I think that is irresponsible. Solar developers will pay any reasonable cost incurred by the county in the development of a solar project, including experts to represent you, to look out for your interests. When I say you, I mean all of Nottoway County. So solar projects mean revenue at no cost to the county. And so this decision, it's not a decision. I submit to you all, it's an IQ test. And so I think with more reasonable setbacks and the flexibility to assess a project on its own merits on a case-by-case application, this county will be pleased with the results. And as for other counties that are choosing not to do solar, there are some counties who have said, we have reached our saturation point. Brunswick County set a cap, 8,200 acres. They've got more applications than they do acreage. They're going to have to deal with that. How many prisons do we want? At some point, enough is enough, right? How many roads do you want? At some point, enough is enough. How many factories do you want in your backyard? At some point, of course, enough is enough. But every county this gentleman cites is a county that tried it, and I see is cashing the checks from solar and continues to do so and will do so for the next 40 years because they tried it, they got to the point they needed to get, and they're considering when enough is enough. Nottoway hadn't even tried it. So I beg you, please, give it a try. And I think you'll find that the point where you say enough is enough is when the revenue suits the needs of this county and you no longer have to put the burden on us. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could say something.
Yes, Mr. Ingram.
Young lady, I would like to apologize to you. I want everybody to know how passionate I've been about this ever since it started. And that's the reason I was asking the questions and making the comments I was making. If I was out of line, I certainly do apologize. And, anything I can do to make it better, just please let me know.
Drop the setback.
It was not my intention. Well, I'm not here to berate anybody, but like I said, talk about generations. I'm 6th generation citizen of Nottoway County. My family's been in this county for 6 generations. All were farmers. I got out of the farming business and went to teaching business, but I do own a farm. I live on a farm. Brought up on a farm, raised on a farm all my life. And the reason I stayed in Nottoway County is because it was home, number one. But number two, the environment we have here, it's second to none. we are very lucky to have the natural resources that we have in this county. And my job as a supervisor, probably over 95% of the people that are in my district are farmers or live on farms. They live in the country. The only town I represent is Burkeville, 400 citizens. So you take the number of people in my district, they live in the country. And from what I hear from the people that live in my district, they want to keep it agricultural. They want to keep it nice and friendly. And that's my reason. That's why I'm so passionate. I really do apologize. I get going and I get going. And my wife told me when I left tonight, be nice.
Be nice. Well,
he's going to find out.
Mr. Ingram, you the man I thought you was by apologizing to that young lady.
Well,
I was looking at her expression, and I think she thought she was in front of the great white throne judgment there for a minute. But he's not that hard of a person, because if he was, he wouldn't apologize to you. Mr. Ingram is a fine fellow.
Yes, sir. You know, like I said, I've been so passionate about this for so long, and that's the reason why I got out of hand. It's my fault.
Thank you for that, Mr. Ingram. Mr. Toth, you and I had a discussion 2 months ago, and it's the reason that this ordinance came back out into the light of day. There's two reasons: revenue and personal property rights. And that's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
This county has gotten one bill after another. It seems like first the judge, and then 10 days ago we received word that our emergency squad was going to need some help. All of these things are expensive. We've got our radio system going. It looks like the animal shelter we've got taken care of. I think we're going to be okay there. As a person who understands revenue, and John Rourke and I we've had many conversations, but we both kind of came to the conclusion that you cannot restrict revenue at the same time that you're increasing taxes. And that's the bottom line. You got to look at other sources of revenue when you're trying to meet these challenges. And that's where I am. I'm not a fan of the acreage that solar takes, the amount of ground that it takes. There's other sources of energy that don't take up that amount of ground. I live on a farm, and my family has farms down in Sussex that have been affected by solar. But I need to consider the citizens of this county on the revenue side of this equation, and that's where I'm coming from. I'll just say it.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend you close the public hearing.
Okay, you want to close the public hearing, then have comments? Need a motion to close.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, well, those are my comments. That's why this ordinance is back out. And for me, it was strictly because of the revenue situation after the judge's order. And we'll speak to property rights.
That's the other reason that I went along with Mr. Collins or we went together, I guess, on it is property rights. You know, it's mighty hard for an individual board to tell a person what they can and can't do as long as it don't infringe on the harm of an adjacent landowner. Sure, we want everybody to get along and be good neighbors, but the truth of the matter is, where some agree, some's going to disagree. And we do need the revenue. That's not solely why I'm not going to say pro-solar. Me personally, I don't like solar. I don't like to see the panels. I don't want it nowhere around me. But me personally saying that I don't own all the land that's around me ought to say that the person has the right to do what they want to do with it, as long as they're not infringing my rights as a United States citizen, not just a citizen of Nottoway County. And we do need the revenue. It's horrible that we can be dictated what we need to do in the means of putting a new courthouse up or revamping the one that we already have to millions of dollars expenses. It's horrible. It's terrible that the taxpayers are going to have to do it. You can get the solar, and the taxpayers still going to have to pay some of it. But it'll sure help it a whole lot, an awful whole lot. And I got a little sinus infection deal up here today, so that's why I look a little more squinty-eyed than normal. But I'm not on no kind of narcotics, I can assure you of that. Maybe it would be a good thing to talk about this stuff, but yes, ma'am, Ms. Norton, I'm finished.
Don't give me your cooties.
You already got them. You give them to me, I think.
I did not.
Oh. It's sinus infection.
I agree. We've all talked, and we've kicked the can down the road many, many years. The majority of the citizens don't want solar, but they all don't want a tax increase. So we've looked at this in a medium, trying to get to a happy medium, putting restrictions, but allowing them to be decreased so we can get small-scale solar, so we can get some revenue. Because we're in a financial need basis right now that this county has never seen. And we've got to look at all the options. Personally, I don't want solar. I've come from a family of farmers. Dickie's 6 generations, I'm 4 generations. My grandparents came from Nebraska. But it's a new day. We have got to look at ways for revenue. We don't have businesses beating down the door, industries beating down the door to bring jobs here and bring their product here so that we can make money. The only place, and being on the finance committee with Mr. Ingram, the only place that we can find revenue, even if we cut 10%, it isn't a penny. We're down to the bare bones. And if we keep pulling our revenue out of our reserves in 5 years, I say we will be broke, and I mean it, we won't be $0 in the bank, but the state mandates us to keep a certain percentage of money in the bank. We have to. If we keep doing this, 5 to 6 years, we will be broke. And if I decide to stay on the board, run again.
If the citizens decide.
Or the citizens decide.
You'd have to decide too, though, right?
I don't want that on my conscience, that we've gotten a lot thrown on us from previous boards. I don't like solar, but I have to agree with this new verbiage so we can allow at least small-scale projects so we can get some revenue.
I do want to read one sentence.
And before you do that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to back up and add something that I said, if I may.
Okay.
We talking here about rural Nottoway County. I came off of a dairy farm. We milked a few hundred cows for 32 years. I'm still a farmer. And having said that, I'll say this: some of the citizens in our community of Nottoway don't want solar. They want it solely for agricultural purposes on the bigger pieces of land. But it's the same citizens that didn't want hog houses that eat pork. Nottoway County's got one of the most restrictive hog house ordinances that's in the state, but they want agriculture. Well, but they don't want hog houses. So now those same people, they don't want solar. So what are they for? Are they for the agriculture? Are they for the better of the community? I personally don't want solar, as I said. Daphne personally said she didn't like solar, as she said. But I don't want to infringe on somebody's rights, and we certainly do. I will agree that unfortunately a lot of this is based on financial gain to the county to help us out of a pretty deep hole that the county's in. And having said that, that'll be all, Mr. Chairman.
Item 4, setbacks. We have this sentence in there, and the industry apparently doesn't like this isn't enough, I guess. Increased or decreased setbacks from all public rights-of-way and adjacent property lines up to 300 feet and additional buffering may be included in the conditions for a particular permit dependent upon the site topography and parcel dimensions. So just so the citizens know, we've got an attempt in there at language that gives us the ability to make exceptions based on site topography and dimensions. So we'll have further discussions, but I'm satisfied with that language. Mr. Rourke, are you there?
Yes, sir.
What say you?
As far as the setbacks, reduce them. If I may give some comments to this whole thing, or is now a proper time, or?
This is the time. This is the time. Your comments are welcome.
Okay, so here we go. The folks are not going to like this, but we're at the point. Yes, the can's being kicked down the road. Let's honestly go and face the elephant in the room. This is part of the national and state political BS that is ripping this country apart. Bo is absolutely right. Property rights. I tend to vote a certain way, and with that vote has always been to protect two things. Keep my taxes low and don't tell me what to do with my property. And a lot of the people that are saying no solar is also the ones that saying no taxes. You can't have it both ways. Okay? So at the end of the day, I'm going to put it out there. Mr. Tatum's project should move forward as long as that creek is protected. You know, we got to start somewhere. The citizens that have spoken out in just feelings when the big one came out. I don't think number one on this board would approve 1,000 acres or more of a project. And if it ever did, it wouldn't be this board to approve it. But at the end of the day, there has got to be revenue. Y'all may recall I asked y'all last year a question, not a statement, but are we going to continue to raise these folks' taxes and say no to a revenue stream? That's just like we got all that land out there at Fort Pickett. We ought to put a couple of 100 acres up for sale and let somebody come and dig a hole and bury some trash and give this county some money. It works. Put the onus on them. Bring some money in this county because that land is sitting out there rotting, and these people are steady paying more and more taxes. And I will tell you what, I believe the tide will turn when the new tax bills come out and they see what's going to hit them. People can't stand it anymore. They just can't stand it. But I'm going to stand by and do what's right for the health, safety, and welfare of these people in this county. But at the end of the day, Bo, you were talking about the hog. It wasn't too long ago, and pardon my language, there was some people talking about cow farts were ruining the ozone and they didn't want cattle on land next to them. Come on, man. People want to eat, though, don't they? We got to put the cows somewhere. We got to put the pigs somewhere. We got to put the chickens somewhere. And the county's got to get revenue from somewhere. And I think Mr. Tatum's project, and I'm not the only one on that board. I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but I'm not the only one on that board that feels strongly about that project should move forward because all the landowners around it said yes, as long as that creek is protected. We had the assurance to protect that creek, which is the water source into the town of Crook. As long as it's protected, first and foremost, get some revenue coming into this county. Let's sell some of that land out there at Fort Pickett and let somebody bury some trash. We got to bury trash anyway. Let's bring some revenue into this county. I mean, like you said, Ms. Nord, ain't nobody knocking on nobody's door, let alone knocking them down, trying to get any business down here. We got to do what we need to do. And let's stop kicking this can. Y'all are right. I mean, 5, 6 years now. My God, we can focus so much time on other items, but we got to get this off our plate. And ain't nobody to say that none of us haven't talked to what accumulated into thousands of people over these years, talking about how they feel about it, their personal feelings. But the majority of this, other than there's some that came at the very beginning that is not politically, that has a political agenda in this fight about this at all. They were honestly concerned about a huge project, and they maintained that, and I applaud them because they've done it with decorum and civility and have always carried themselves properly in their argument about that project. I get it, understand. But the majority, overwhelmingly, is driven by political because it was a Go Green initiative by the Democrats. You got all these people fighting because of that. But we are ripping the low-income and middle-class people apart, and they far outweigh the handful that is trying to rip this county apart just like the country's been ripped apart because of national and state politics. Billy Colvin said it best. A local governing body can do the best for its people in a short period of time, but they can also do the worst, the most damage in a short period of time. We have got to separate this from political BS. I mean, it's just nowhere else to put it. That's the elephant in the room. Both you're passionate about this. Dickie, you're passionate about this. Daphne, you have shed tears over the phone. I don't mean to be telling our personal conversation. You shed tears with me over the phone, talking about how it's ripping you apart. And Bill, I know you feel like you've been tied to horses and strewn apart. But at some point, let's just make a decision and do what's best for the citizens and not the political judgment here.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rourke.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Rourke is back.
John, hey, John. John, I was getting ready to call you 5 minutes on you, buddy, even though you weren't from the public.
right,
And I
Mr.
hope that you managing your blood pressure well, because it sounded like it might have raised up a little bit. Sound like he's definitely back, Daphne.
Man, I'm just tired of the board being ripped apart, and I'm tired of the citizens fighting and fighting and fighting. We have got to come together. This one project may be the perfect one. As long as it's protected, that water source is protected. But man, we have got to do something for our people. We can't keep taxing 2/3 of the citizens into the poorhouse here. We can't.
All right, Mr. Rourke, I'm gonna go with Mr. Ingram.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Thank you, John.
Mr. Ingram, your thoughts? Any more thoughts?
Any change of thoughts?
Any
Let's
change
ask
of
him that.
Look, y'all know how I feel. Like I said, I came into this arena when the huge project was proposed up from my home. And I couldn't believe it. Thank goodness Mr. Coleman printed it in the paper so I could know it was coming. It was being probably shoved in and nobody was gonna know anything about it. And when I found out about it, I started doing all the research I could do. I apologize to the young lady, but I got this off a gentleman from Charlotte County, the Good Neighbor Agreement. So that's why I was asking about it. They were upset up there because I guess y'all know they're overwhelmed with solar projects up there, and they're pretty much tired of it. And it was also in the Brunswick, they have a responsible Brunswick solar site on Facebook also. But I also go in and read other things and try to figure out the companies that are coming before us, and I try to figure out exactly where they're coming from. The gentleman said they were based in Richmond. I found out they've got a partnership with a company in Japan. Is that correct? I didn't bring that up, but I see that, and I got no qualms with that, but I just want everybody to know I'd rather be open and honest and know what's going on. I have not had anyone call me, text me, email me saying they were in favor of it. Everybody that's gotten in touch with me says, I don't want it. I don't want it in my county. And so I've got to go with the people that I hear from. And in that case, I can't vote for the changes. I got to leave it like the Planning Commission sent it.
So when we do that, then we're just gonna do it for the entire ordinance. We're not gonna pick it apart, and you'll be a no. That's okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just for a point of clarification, before you put a motion on the floor, I think we should do a roll call, but just for point of clarification, when you do put this on the motion, when you do get a motion, you need to get a motion to state that you want to take out under section 41910, number 7, that was the one that any developer issued a permit shall be supervised by Dominion Power. That was the first thing you said, correct?
Correct.
All right, so when you put that motion in place, you need to say you're going to remove that. Now, we heard about the setbacks. Mr. Rourke mentioned setbacks, and so did Mr. Toth, and so did some of the people. Do you leave setbacks alone? Because if you do want to change the setbacks, put it in the motion so we can get it wrapped up.
Can we do that? Could the setbacks be removed from this proposed ordinance?
If we change it, then it's going to be another public hearing? Okay.
That's what I thought.
All right, but we okay with Dominion Power?
Yeah.
Okay. Less restrictive because the develop, okay.
So the setbacks could be considered case by case. We just have to, if there was language that somebody want.
I think you would be adopting the ordinance as a whole. I don't think you'd go one by one.
Correct. We're gonna go as a whole.
I don't think you probably, technically any changes that
I mean,
you make to this
we've got that sentence in there that gives them some consideration.
any changes that you would make would probably to this ordinance arguably would have to go back to the planning commission.
Even the statement about the developer, the statement says this, Ms. Douglas, any developer issued a permit shall be supervised by Dominion Power. Dominion Power is saying to the chairman that they can't do that. Is that what I'm hearing?
So that's less restrictive, because there's no,
Yeah,
it was part of the advertisement.
that's part of the advertising, correct, Greg? Yes. Yeah.
So that's less restrictive. That's no supervision.
Or do we just leave it and put the motion on the floor?
I think technically any changes should go back to the planning commission.
I would.
You guys are supposed to remove that.
I don't know that the planning commission being a recommendation board. They've given us and Mr. Ingram, you own it.
No, I'm not on it.
You don't vote, but you own the planning commission board. You're at the meetings.
Yes, sir.
If the planning commission board submits it to the board of supervisors, it's totally a recommendation board.
That's correct.
Okay? So if it's a recommendation board, and I ain't no attorney, you heard that, I ain't no attorney, so you know I'm not an attorney. Why would it have to go back to the planning commission?
Required by Virginia code.
Then it goes back, any changes to the,
Council, please help if I start to make everyone look bad. 15.2, I believe it's 2285 or 2885 of the state code. Any changes or any amendments to an existing comprehensive plan, zoning ordinance or what have you? It has to go back to the planning commission first.
Well, they've declined all the changes.
Right. But I think if you
If
struck
you send it
that
back
one-
again, then they're going to decline it again. So that has no valid point to make.
I stay at Super 8s. I don't even stay at a Holiday Inn.
Robert Hawthorne, you know I like free legal advice, and we're paying this girl, and she's excellent, but have you had any specific experience with it going back?
I do, and I'm gonna offer this without stepping on any toes.
Right.
This young lady represents the county. But thank for that, what I would recommend, this is like the most important point you've reached in 8 years. I am of the opinion with a motion, you can change the proposed ordinance. Because you only advertised changing sections. You didn't specify specific language for each section, at least in your notice you did. So I would recommend, and I should shoot myself for saying this, I would give council the opportunity to brief it, and perhaps you can get opinion from other legal sectors on that issue. But
So-
obviously defer to your local council.
So but just your opinion, then,
I think you can amend
without it going back?
without having to go back to the.
Well, I'll lead our legal notice, public hearing. A zoning ordinance to amend the following sections of Article 4, Division 19, Solar Energy Facilities. Section 419.3, definitions, Section 419.7, location, appearance, and operational requirements, and Section 419.10, federal, state, and local requirements. So we were not specific in the ordinance, or the advertisement.
So this is why I asked about any developer issued a permit shall be supervised by Dominion Power. That's why I asked if it was already a part of the ordinance, because it's not.
No, it was an addition.
So I don't think that can be
Struck.
struck. Anything that's in addition can be struck, but if you're going to make additional amendments, it would be my recommendation to send it back to the planning commission.
So that should be in the motion that
See what you're
we'll
saying.
strike.
That you can strike that.
Number
That's-
7.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chairman, that's the only concern I've had, and,
But so it goes back to lessening the setbacks, it needs to go back to planning commission.
that's right.
Well, the language is in here that planning or supervisors can increase or decrease setbacks from all public rights-of-ways and adjacent property lines up to 300 feet, and additional buffering may be included in the conditions for a particular permit, depending upon the site topography and parcel dimensions.
So that does not need to go back to planning then.
So you could be more restrictive and not less. That's what that says.
Yes.
You're setting.
So the 300 is the floor.
That's right. The way it reads now. Or the way you just read it. Why would we hold a work session and discuss what the changes are going to be?
No, we did that.
I know, why would we do that and debate what the numbers are gonna be, and then have your numbers be static when you come to vote?
We went from 800 to 300.
Sir?
We went from 800 to 300.
Because if it's not adopted, if the changes are not adopted, it would be my recommendation to send it back to the planning commission if you're going to change the setbacks again. I don't think you technically have to do that because it hasn't been adopted as ordinance yet, so and Greg, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, this is just a recommendation.
No, it has been adopted.
It's been adopted at the 800.
Oh, I know,
Yeah.
but if you were to change it again and
From this,
adopt
you mean?
it, and adopt it today and then change it again, it's gonna have to go back to the planning commission at this time.
So Greg,
You can't go wrong doing it that way, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I rise for point of parliamentary procedure. What point of the agenda are we currently in?
We're in discussion after a public hearing.
But the public hearing was closed.
He said discussion
This is
after
the
the public
members
hearing.
discussing it after the public hearing.
I
Your
think they're,
agenda is what you're driven by.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott.
You could make a motion. second
We're
it,
building a
and call the
motion.
discussion
It,
going.
it would seem to me that we're building a motion, Mr. Abbott.
Make the motion, sir, with all due respect to the parliamentary procedure. Make a motion, second it, then discuss it till the cows come home. I got
Oh,
an
he wants
attorney
us to make
shaking his head, yes, I know I'm accurate in this.
And then we do a discussion.
You want to do discussion after that?
Yeah.
I'll request a motion to approve the changes to the Article 4, Division 19 Solar Energy Facilities as advertised.
Y'all here?
Is advertised.
As advertised.
I'll make that motion.
Excluding number 7, which was the requirement of supervision of Dominion Power. All right, I've got a motion.
Discussion.
I'll second.
You want any more discussion, or are we moving on?
I think we can take a vote on it and then go for discussion. No, we can discuss it. We can just. Yeah, discuss it first.
Okay.
So we got any more discussion whether this is setbacks going back toward planning commission?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I believe, did I get the sense that you and Mr. Toth, I'm not speaking for you, I'm asking, was I kind of getting the sense that y'all were ready to go ahead and take a vote on this?
Yes.
All right, well, let's take a vote. That's what I'm saying.
You want? Hey, John.
Yes, sir.
Is it your wish to take a vote on this, or is it to discuss it further to see if this 100 on these smaller projects can be lessened to 150 foot without going back to planning and having another public meeting? I'd like to clarify that first. Have we already clarified that? I thought the language mentioned if it's less restrictive, then it doesn't need to be, correct? It doesn't need to be public advertised on certain, doesn't need to go back to planning commission, and 150 is less than 300.
You on that, Mr. Toth? I believe this is less restrictive. If there's an issue and we pull the trigger on this and take a vote, if there's an issue with it, let that issue be brought forth and we'll deal with it. But
So-
in the meantime, I'm with y'all. Let's pull a vote on this thing. That's what my motion's for, to pull a vote on this thing.
All right, and included in that motion, do we want to make mention, or is it your wish to make mention that we lessen the 300 foot to 150 foot on the smaller project?
Yes.
All right, so in that motion, Mr. Chairman, that's what he's requesting to put in his motion that he made, that it reduces the setback from 350 to 150 foot on the projects
Less than?
less than 3 megawatts, 3 megawatts or less. Yes, sir. 5 megawatts or less, excuse me. So the smaller projects would lessen the feet to 150. That's what he wants to put in the motion. Correct, John?
Yes, sir.
All right, that motion's been made, and I seconded it.
if I can interrupt, I'm sorry.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
All the setbacks probably need to be addressed, just generally. So make it clear, maybe Mr. Bowen, what every setback is, and then go from
In
there.
other words, what I think your suggestion is, the project area should be set back a distance of, instead of 300, you will be 100 feet.
Only 5 megawatt or less.
See, that's gotta go in that, you gotta put that in here then.
I mean, that go in the motion.
It has to be in every location where the 300 foot is, correct?
That's right.
Necessarily. I agree with Mr. Collins. The language is in there that the board can decide whether they want to reduce the setbacks or not.
So why wouldn't we just remove 300? The board can decide the setbacks. on
I
a
don't like that
case-by-case.
either, because there's got to be some kind of limit. You see what I'm saying?
You talking about
You
like a
say-
starting point? Well, you talking about a starting point?
Exactly, 300 feet, if that's what y'all want, 300 feet, that's the starting point. Now, if you want to come in and say, okay, because of the topography or the, wherever it's located, we're going to reduce them a little bit.
So you look at case by case.
Exactly. But if you got to have something, you just say no language on setbacks, you got to have something.
It's to be determined by the Board of Supervisors and with the Planning Commission.
Yeah, that sounds good. So that's what you want to change, we change the motion to be determined by the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission.
No, I don't like that.
You don't like that language?
I think you got to have some kind of starting point.
Well, 300 feet would be the starting point.
I'm not gonna vote for 300 feet.
No, you ain't gonna vote for it,
I
no
wanna
how.
keep it 800 feet.
Right, I know.
But what I'm saying is, if you go in there and say just to be determined by the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission, it could be 5 feet. You see what I'm saying? I think you gotta have a number. Start with 300 feet, and then if you say, okay, because of the topography, because of where location, whatever, we need to reduce the setbacks to a certain, number, then that would be up to the Planning Commission and the board. But right now, you got 300 feet in your proposed changes.
Right.
Keep it there. But you've got to.
Even for the smaller project.
Yeah, it's in there. It says you can change the.
Let me read it.
As we get into this process, I'm fine with 300 feet. If everybody acts right, I'll be glad to ask for a reduced setback. That's my position.
On a case-by-case basis.
Well, we don't need to wade into the deep end.
We're telling these small project people that if we don't look at each individual project, it can't happen. That place up there off of Sunnyside is and the other place up at Burkeville is probably the two only places I'd pick in the whole county to put them. But they can't meet the setback. So if they can't meet the setback, we tell them we look at it as case basis before they even submit an application. Bill, you at the bank, when you sell a piece of property, if you get some stuff already done to it, it'll sell better. They're not gonna submit the application and say based on county's decision on setback. Or they may.
Or they will. I mean, I would.
I would too if I want to do the project.
I would put it in there and then say, okay, does the board agree with, lessening the setbacks?
Ms. Norton, I ain't heard you say much. What's your thought?
My thoughts is I'm tired of kicking the can. Let's get this over with. As is, we can do it case by case. Go with the language that's in there and be done with this so we can move forward.
All right, I've got a motion and a second, I believe.
We better clarify that motion again. Yeah, we better clarify.
Could you give I think Ms. Douglas wants to say something, just real quick.
And I'll make this simple for you, Mr. Cox.
Okay.
Draw the motion at this point, and let's reread the motion to make sure everybody's good with the motion, and then I'll put the new motion on the floor.
Is he withdrawing his motion?
He did.
Okay.
Motion withdrawn, second's withdrawn. I'd like a motion.
No, I was trying, she's been a lawyer wants to speak and.
It's okay, I just want to make sure John is right. We just need to make sure that whatever motion, it's very clear on each setback amendment that's being adopted.
If we're doing that, right? Are we doing that? The motion can be very simple. We make a motion to approve the proposed solar ordinance amendments excluding section 419, number 7. That could be the motion if that's what you want to go with. And I think that's what you had on the floor.
That sound right?
It does, because that's just like
Right.
this ordinance is being presented. Other than the 14-9-7.
Which was an amendment, so you can strike that anyways,
Right.
Because it was an amendment.
because it was an amendment, and that's.
I'll make that motion as just discussed.
Okay, we got a second.
Yep, I'll second it.
Roll call, Mr. Bowen.
Okay, we've got a motion properly second to approve the proposed solar ordinance amendments excluding section 419-10, number 7. Mr. Ingram, yea or nay?
No.
Mr. Roy, yea or nay?
Yay.
Ms. Norton, yea or nay?
Yay.
Mr. Toth, yea or nay?
Yay.
Mr. Collins, yea or nay?
Yay.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 4-1.
That was 5, that was 6 yeas.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks for everybody's patience.
Mr. Chairman, that was, I think we have no presentations tonight.
Okay, no presentations. We've already done VDOT. Is Mr. Easter available?
No, it's not. Just the only thing we have as far as solid waste, we are a driver down on the CDL. I'm gonna, if anybody in this room knows anybody got a CDL permit, we sure could utilize them. I'm gonna call I was recommended to call Mr. Quick at the school and see if he can get anybody. So anyway, we are.
Yeah, good idea.
We're an important person, and maybe Mr. Irby can help find me a CDL person. I don't know, but it's hard to get them. But anyway, Building inspections, Nick is not here. He may be a new daddy tomorrow, so anyway.
Is that right?
Yep.
Well, congratulations to
Congratulations,
him.
Nick.
And what's old, no report. Piedmont, no report. County Library, no report. Of course, you do have Mr. Abbott, the Chairman Abbott is here. I didn't see Dr. Grimes, and I don't know if he has anything or not.
You got anything, Mr. Abbott, for the school in your other capacity? There was an email that the treasurer sent. We haven't.
Chair, I was not given any guidance or direction from Dr. Grimes to share with you this
Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
So it'll be Mr. Zodi next, probably.
Mr. Zodi, anything?
Actually, I do. Good evening. Thank you for passing the solar ordinance. All right, I have basically good news, aside from my monthly report. We do have a meeting scheduled for River Street, for a pre-construction meeting on April 22nd. The time has been undetermined at that
I don't
point.
think they picked the time yet.
Not yet, no, sir. But I do want to let you all know, because I've been updating y'all every month, and it's just nothing's really happened. But now we have the land use permits were issued in March for them to begin work in the right-of-way. And this is for the Military Cox Road equipment shelter. That'll be the first site that they begin work on. And I plan on going, representing staff, and I can do that for the board as well. I invited Mr. Bowles, our building official, to attend as well.
I responded to the email as well.
Okay.
That's good. That's the equipment shed that's on my end of the county.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
Happy days. But the second thing I have, this is for Mr. Toth. What I did, I've updated our LoopNet information and provided new maps because I was working on another project with GIS. But I did want to share the new drawings with y'all that show the parcels and the newly configured acreage, total acreage, because I have a dispute with our county records based on my measurements of one particular parcel, West Entrance Road. I think it's 55 acres, but our land records say 135, and I measured it using a tool to create a polygon, and they gave me the total area of 55 acres. And so I gave you all two totals, and it's in here. For the total area. And this includes the zoning, the coloring is gone, and it gives the acreage on each piece, and the road names.
Thank you, sir.
So I just wanted
And
to
you're offering prices. Are you doing the 15,000 an acre, or you?
I'll defer to you all.
But, so right now, they're just for sale. Is it just an aggregate price, or?
Yeah, I believe we still have that, and I'll double check to see if our representative, believe that Tyler with LoopNet.
Well, as far as the pricing goes, I mean, we've received one number out there on another parcel, and then I believe appraisal's been ordered. So that'll give us an idea on that particular parcel, and then we can extrapolate from there.
Oh, let me get back to the microphone. I have spoken, I did get a request for some information about a parcel on Dominic Corner, which is included in the maps. He didn't specify, it was Olin Hardy out of Amelia.
Okay, I need you to, that's enough.
So I have had that, and let me look at prices and get back to you all on that.
Okay.
Okay? That's really all I have for right now, but I was really excited about the River Street progressing.
Yep.
It's been going on since I've been here.
Good
so.
news.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Hyde?
Excuse me.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Rourke, welcome back. It's good to hear you. It's good to hear your voice. We're looking forward to seeing you in person.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hurry back soon. Okay, members of the board, I do have, and Mr. Bowen, citizens and staff, just a couple quick things, and I'll move right through this, but I do have a handout. I want to approach the bench, Mr. Chair, to give you a couple handouts.
That'd be fine.
Okay, sir, before I do that, just real quick, we had a big training month, in your report, but I also want the public to know, huge training month. I want to thank Blackstone Fire Department for hosting our Knox Key Access training. We had a team come out from Phoenix, Arizona. They're the top trainers in the country. They came out. We've been working on this project for a while. All three fire departments were present. They're the users of the system. So Want to thank them for that. That was on March 18th. Then we went to, starting off, it was a big school week on the April 1st week. Started off on April Fool's Day. We didn't plan it that way, but
Excuse me, Mr. Hyde.
Darrell Sellers.
Excuse me, Mr. Hyde. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Darrell Sellers from Blackstone Fire facilitated a Kinston Forest vehicle extrication. We always do this every year for the prom to prepare the kids. So that went really well with Life Evac 4 landing. And that was a great day for responders to show the kids over, the students over at Kinston Forest. Then we fast forwarded to the 4th, just a few days later. We had a really well planned out, I think, active shooter drill, well exercise. We had about 100, probably 80 to 100 people. And we were able to do that at Nottoway High School. So that was a day-long event. All fire departments were there, all police departments, Sheriff's Department, and VDOT, and many, many others. So just wanted to pass that on in case the public didn't know. There's going to be a video coming out soon. There's actually one out on YouTube now that Richard Stallings from Crew Fire Department posted from his helmet cam. It's on YouTube. But Carl Bassfield with Blackstone Fire Department and also of the video production company is going to be making one to show all of you, and I'll see if I can get a copy of that for you. He was able to fly a drone over the school during the active shooter, and he was able to fly a drone in the school. So I think you're going to have some really dramatic video. He was able to go down the hallway behind the deputies and law enforcement from the towns and the EMTs and paramedics. As they were clearing the hallways, he was flying behind them. So we got really good documentation on that. And I think that's going to be one of the first you've ever seen like that. I don't think I've ever seen an interior drone. And then what we had was CTA on Tuesday of this week. We had CTA, our consultant, to have a day-long, what we call a detailed design review, a DDR. Mr. Bowen and I, and Jimmy Falwell, and Chief Joey Schnapp, and many, many others were in attendance, and we were able to go over the design and review of our radio system. At this point, what I want to do is enter the bench, and I've got a couple of handouts for you. And I'll finish up. The first one is a letter from VDEM.
Thank you, sir.
Which just came in the last few days. We didn't have it for the board pack. You had asked me a few months ago about getting an interpretation in writing on the grants and how the federal situation is going to be with the grants. You know, we have a lot of grant awards right now. We've been fortunate. Nottoway County has been fortunate to have the grant awards. And we wanted to know what the situation was going to be like. Mr. Bowen, I'm going to give you one from Mr. Rourke.
Yeah, I got a couple things for him, so
That's
thank you.
fine.
Right.
Put that in his
Be
pack,
glad
sir.
to.
I appreciate that.
I'll hunt him down somewhere.
Sure.
So this just lets us know that they don't know.
Correct. And what I wanted to do, if you can take some notes on yours or on a side note, I wanted to talk with you really quick about the grants that we do have in the hopper. These are FEMA grants that are going through VDEM. We have the generator project at $93,450 award, and the hurricane hardening project, which was going to harden the windows and doors at the 911 center and the Sheriff's Department for $87,150. So the grand total was $180,600. So here's why I'm bringing that up. Looking in the letter, it says when and if. The when is okay. I'm worried about the if. So this is coming from the federal government through VDEM. So what we're going to have to do is have some really close planning on spending that $180,000, which we'll get $172,000 reimbursed. So our investment is Nottoway County in this large project is only going to be $8,600 at the end of the day.
Well, with the if in there, I don't believe we should be
Correct.
even spending.
So what
till the environment and
yes, sir.
the federal government clears up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So if it's okay with you, I have talked to VDEM, and they're willing to have their kickoff meeting anyway to go over the details. And I think this will be a good opportunity to ask more questions. So if it's okay, let's set that up for the end of April. And I'd like to have that. It may be virtual, it may be in person. Normally they just come out and talk about the grant. And we were planning to not spend this money anyway until fiscal year 26. So if you remember, just the match itself was in the 26 budget. and we weren't looking at doing any spending until after July because there's lead time on this generator, but a 45 kW.
Well, if that's at the end of April, I think should
That's
give
right.
them a little bit more time to maybe see what's gonna happen.
Okay, okay.
So I think that'll be fine.
That's agreeable, okay, sounds good, and of course, lead time on the generator is gonna be about probably 4 months anyway, so I don't think we have to worry
I
about that.
would direct you that we're not, until the federal guidance clears, we're not spending.
Till,
Sure.
to piggyback on Buddy's comment too, we're trying to see if we can up that generator, what is it, 40 to 60?
Yes, sir.
Anyway, and the thought is because the antennas, I mean, the tower with the equipment over there is going to be over there, let the EOC run that too, so we don't have to have another generator. So the radio project has a generator under that tower, and we're trying to get rid of one of those. So what he's doing is he's saving money on another project. So just keep that in the back of your
That's
brain
good.
a little
That's
bit.
a good idea.
So-
That's right, just trying to streamline, and it may be good timing on it, it was just a small upgrade to 60 kW. Mr. Chair, can I enter the bench again? I want to give you the second handout and we'll be done.
Okay.
Mr. Bowen wanted me to, and I'll just give you the extra copies, just pass it along for any extras you may have. Mr. Bowen wanted me to go over what we talked about in the DDR Tuesday, and then what's moving forward. So CTA has provided us with the timelines.
Good, John.
And I've got a few extra notes on mine that you don't have on yours, but if you just want to go chronologically, and just real quick, I'm gonna rapid fire through this. Phase 1 is going to be complete May 12th of this year. And the microwave staging of the large microwave dishes and all of that are going on the towers, that's going to be in May as well. So next month, all of that's going on. Then we're going to have some equipment staging on mid-August of 2025. Phase 2 completion will be October of this year, October 24th. And if you look down, that's going to be infrastructure staging and testing. So that'll be in the fall of this year. And then we're still not ready to turn it on. Phase 3 will be completed May 18th. So 1 year from now and a little bit will be Phase 3 completion. And then we go into the final phase, which is training, coverage acceptance, final installations, and cutover of the system around December 21st of 2026. So right around Christmas time, we'll have the testing done when the foliage is still on the trees, and then as the fall comes along, we'll be in those final phases and do cutover. But it's real critical, as we've always said, to do testing when all the leaves on the trees, because you know that you're blocking your signal. So that will happen if everything goes well, and project closeout December 21st of 2026. So we're looking at just a little bit over a year and a half left on this before we push to talk. And all our firefighters, law enforcement, EMS, animal control, school system, all of them will be able to use this new system. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair. If there's any questions.
All right.
Glad to answer.
Any questions for Mr. Hyde? Thank you, Mr. Hyde.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next one is me, Piedmont Regional Jail Authority. We had that yesterday. To my understanding, we were under budget based on our income from the federal
Federal,
inmates.
yes, but not a whole lot, but some.
Well, a couple
right.
$100,000, I think it was.
Right.
So that's back operating as it should, helping us with revenue. So that's good.
And I think that you might have something, I don't know if you have it or not, but the VCBR residents was $420,653.
Yes.
And we only got reimbursed,
We're at 3.
well, with 200 this year, 300 next year.
We were 214 and then
Right.
300 next year.
Right.
So that's still a place where we're losing funds that should be at the state. Again, the state pays for them while they're at VCBR. When they commit a crime and they go to Piedmont, all of a sudden they're our expense. So we're still going to be working on that. Ideally, the Piedmont would bill the state direct for actual days spent. And it would never pass through Nottoway County. So our senator and our delegates are aware that that's what we would like, and we'll keep checking with them. Mr. Bowen, Pickett Park?
In your package, I know this has been a thing that Bo had brought up many times, you know, hey, you show me the revenue, show me the expenses. So we're trying to break them down for you. And as you can see, there are some problems there. The other thing that we're running into with the Officers Club, you know, Blackstone's got a couple new venues going on. They got the
Armory.
Yeah,
In,
and
in
then the real
Blackstone?
ID. I mean, if you're going to have a wedding, you're not sure if your best man or your bride even has a real ID, you can't get in it too. After May 1st, you can't get in there. And so I got to get my real ID. I haven't got it yet, but I'm hoping they'll send some to county administrator. No,
Make sure it's got your right address on it.
Yeah, make sure the address is right.
Oh, is that
Bush
right?
County?
Yes, I know, I'm in the wrong county, right, John? But anyway, that real ID is going to change a whole lot of a situation out there, some situations, so just be aware of it.
And we're still working on a resolution of these improved items. Right. And been conversations about that. And I believe you found some part-time mowing, so our expenses are continuing to come down.
Right.
Out there that, since we closed it and just made it a department, we've been able to monitor the expenses much better than what was going on previously.
We still got a lot of cutting to do though, but anyway.
Right.
All right, that's all constitutional officers. I know Mr. Jones,
Who we got?
Sheriff is here, but
Ms. Brown, Sheriff Jones, anything?
Yeah, just a little something.
All right, well, thanks for sitting in on that work session the other night with emergency squad.
Yeah, we all part of it, we one big
That
family.
it was 2.5 hours, but a lot of information, and
It was.
so thank you for being there.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, just want to say, Buddy spoke on it already, but talk a little bit about spring break this year. We had a whole lot of good things going on. We did have the mock training at Kinston Forest, and then the big one at the high school. It was a good week. Like you said earlier, everybody, all the county disciplines were involved. It was a good day. Moving on, I know y'all are probably aware of a camp we had. The SROs had a camp last year at
It was a fishing day, I think, fishing a couple of days.
The whole week it was
some things at Woodman Road over,
Road,
right.
we had 40 school kids that attended. We applied for a grant last year. We got the grant. It was at the last minute. Just a heads up, we applied for the grant. It just opened this week again. We've been planning the camp. We are hoping to increase it a little bit this time around. But we just applied for the grant this week. They just opened it up this week. And so hopefully by the time we do get ready to have the camp, we hopefully will have the grant. And if we do have to ask for money, hopefully we'll be able to reimburse you. Yeah. That's our
And that would be
around June, July, after
Okay.
school.
Yeah, so
it's a summer camp.
we may, I don't know, we still haven't touched y'all's discretionary fund for a while yet either, but hopefully we'll get the grant.
Yeah,
But let me say this, I think that
It was just,
and
just a couple grand.
Yeah, and Sheriff and I had conversations. I think that it builds good relationships with the SRO officers and the kids, and I think that's very important.
It was a great camp.
Right.
Again, like I said, a lot of folks were asking, want to be involved on it, and like I said, we turned away kids last year.
Right.
Just because it was the first year we were trying it.
But anyway.
But other than that,
How's the Burkeville Body Shop bill going? The deer staying where they're supposed to be?
knock on wood, mine was the last major one, because I don't have one on mine. But we've hit probably 6 deer since we've got the bars on. And
Yeah, I
most
saw
the
one of them,
deer-
and it broke a little bit of fiberglass, but
Yeah,
you know,
again, it's been.
you can keep working the
I
truck.
think one of the biggest ones we've had been like maybe $1,300 since we put the things on.
So those bars have been,
The bar's been good.
Good.
We've had
All
4
right.
or 5 that were no damage at all.
The balls might come in handy on a pit maneuver too if you need it.
Well.
well,
And
all right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Sheriff. Tammy Rayford,
She's not, I don't see her here, but I guess I've got to figure out, Mr. Abbott, I just want to clarify a point of clarification. I should have asked, Mr. Abbott, that $1 million you're talking about is not on there. Is that on the treasurer's report that you're looking at?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
on investments.
On investments, okay, just making sure we're on the same sheet. So I'll try to get in touch with her tomorrow, see what's
Okay,
going on.
have a look. Ms. Hudson, Ms. Watrous,
Ms. Walters did offer that she needed to be here. I told her, she sent us a report, so I told her it should be okay.
okay. And unfinished business, we got the animal shelter. Really just some dates?
Yeah, well, tomorrow I have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor. And, because you'll see on new business, I think I've already signed the contract, but I need to get, our lawyer to look at it. I'm not real sure. I better shut up. Andrea, have I signed that
They
contract?
ain't turned it in yet, Steve, so you still sign it till she looks at it. It's okay.
But anyway, we got a pre-construction meeting, and then the IDA, I'm getting them back together May 1st. That's gonna be at 4 o'clock, and I know we got, on my report, we got an important public hearing in this building at 6 o'clock, so I'm gonna be over there with them about 4 o'clock, and then I'm gonna hustle over here and make it to that public hearing, but we'll talk about that later. That's really all I got for the animal shelter. I can't think of anything else, Dickie.
No.
Dickie was gonna try to make it, but it was kinda late notice, so I apologize to him, but.
All right, we already talked about broadband, Greg did. Dispatching, Buddy covered that. Buddy covered public safety radio. Anybody have any reports from their boards or committees that they're on?
I do have the question, Mr. Roy, can you hear, I'm hoping you can hear me. The social services, I couldn't make it the other day, I had to go to another meeting. Do they have can you, will they allow you to do that virtually too, John, or do you have a clue? Or do I need to meet with them or something?
Yes, I'm gonna talk with Chairman Scruggs.
Okay.
And a joint conversation between Chairman Scruggs and Ms. Reed as well, Director Reed.
All right, let me.
The ordinance that we read covers this meeting and your other sub-boards and committees.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So we're covered. They just need to, they just vote at the beginning of the meeting to allow you to participate.
That's right.
Let me know how I can help with that, John. All right.
All right, thanks. I'll let you
Yeah.
know if I need anything with
Okay.
that. Thanks.
All right. Any committee reports, anybody?
Do you want me to address the finance committee? Or are we gonna talk about
Certainly.
that later?
This is committee reports, if you wanna talk about it.
Mr. Ingram, you got any comments? You're on the committee with me.
You know, I read the paper and I see some things in the paper and I want to try to clarify. The proposed levy for emergency services. The guys that were at the meeting the other night, correct me if I'm wrong, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that levy is going to be split between the squad, 3 fire departments. And included in that levy will be the payment for the radio system. So in the radio system, everybody needs to understand, the radio system as was presented by Mr. Hyde. We're talking about fire departments, we're talking about police departments, we're talking about the sheriff's office, and we're talking about the schools. So it's serving a lot of people, a lot of different places in the county. So I want that, you know, when I see something that's not right, it upsets me because people read and they think it's the gospel. And that was not what was said at our meeting. So I want everybody to understand that levy as proposed would be to finance those things.
Yeah. And we are following state guidelines, codes.
Yes.
We are delving in still by department, but our focus right now is emergency services and the position it's going to put us in financially. We have not made any decisions.
No.
We're still looking at it. It changes by the week. It depends on what rolls downhill and comes at us. But right now, we're all doing our level best. We really thought this year we were not going to have to increase taxes. We don't know what's going to happen yet. So we're just continuing to look at it, and right now it's largely going to depend on what we do with emergency services.
Just in full disclosure, there's a company that we were referred by Amelia County named ESS, which is a staffing emergency company for EMTs, medics, things like that. And I believe we've invited them to come to a work session or waiting to hear back somewhere.
They were coming to our work session, I think it's May 8th.
Okay, so that.
I've taken care of that.
That's people, that is not equipment. So we're
Right.
trying to investigate as much as we can so that we can make a good decision for the citizens. The more information we have, the better decision we can make.
Yeah, well,
We're gonna have to spend money to make sure 911 answers the call. We just have to figure out the best way for the citizen.
And in that line, we have to take a hard look at everything we're doing because we've got to get our own house in order before we can try to get somebody else's in order. Anybody else?
All right, no more committee reports. You mentioned the animal shelter contract, Mr. Bowen.
Yeah, it would, y'all would make me sleep better if you would, give a motion to approve me to sign that contract tomorrow.
We accepted the bid.
You did, but I don't,
I thought it was in the motion.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm sleeping good now.
Wasn't it in the motion? It was in the motion, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Andrew, why you let me sweat all bullets all week?
Don't blame it on
So
me.
she could laugh.
No, I had to blame. Okay, that's
New
all.
business, item 2, IDA appointment. Have we gotten somebody?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Out of Miss Norton's
I would
district.
like
All
to
right.
present that information. We have a young lady who is in my district, District 3. Her name is Brenda Duffy. She is retired from Piedmont Geriatric. She has served in many capacities there, and she is fully willing to accept this position that will end, not a long, I think this one ends at the end of this year. She's just filling a term. But she's excited to be a part of county government and just look forward to having her if y'all so move. So I would like at this time to make a motion to appoint Brenda C. Duffy to serve on the Industrial Development Authority to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Tony Elliott for a term expiring September 18th, 2025.
I'll second that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, she's appointed.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Duffy, that's great.
Mr. Chairman, like maybe we can wrap this all up together. We got a few, if you go to J3, J3, you'll see that we have some vehicles that we've already surplus, haven't done anything with them yet, out there at the landfill. Plus I got a D6 LGP bulldozer and 2 loaders that we're never going to use, but maybe we can get some money out of them. And I'm trying to figure out, so Buddy has been working on the side there trying to figure out how we can utilize this.
Gov deals?
Yeah, gov deals, I think. So we have some ideas. So I'd like to get a motion to give me the permission to surplus those are the 2 loaders with the sheriff's vehicles as well. He's got 3 vehicles there, I believe it's a 2 Dodge Charger and a Chevrolet Trailblazer. But if y'all would put a motion to surplus all those vehicles plus the 3 dozers, the dozer and a loader, no, I said it wrong, dozer and 2 loaders, I would appreciate it so I can start moving forward with, see if we can do something with that.
Mr. Chairman, right before that, have we considered, once we look at the pricing for this, do we think it'd be beneficial to maybe look at the scrap metal pricing for it if the prices seem low on any offers?
Right. Well, I would make the suggestion in making this motion that we sell these on a sealed bid process and have the right to accept or deny any or all bids on each piece.
And then they could go to ABC if.
That's right. And the other way, the .gov deal, I'm sure they're gonna charge a commission. If we publicly advertise these things and give the citizens an opportunity, they might not bid it. It'd be better than paying an auction company a commission too.
Well,
At 12.5%, but it's a buyer's premium.
So that's gonna just make the buyer bid less, because you still gotta pay. So where if we do it on a sealed bid and give a certain date that they gotta be in and reserve the right to refuse any or all bid.
So for point of clarification, if you look on that, in the international tanker truck you've already surplus them, they've already been on bid and nobody bid it on.
Oh, so why are we asking to surplus it again then?
No, I'm asking you to surplus that, they have not. So that bulldozer and them 2 loaders have not been surplus. I just got them on there to show you. So can I tell you what the problem is? Just like I situation when we helped out the school and Heather and you and I had this conversation, I don't have any way to take a bus up the road.
Right, I understand.
I mean, all right, so if nobody bids on it, how do I get it to the junkyard?
You're gonna pay more in hauling.
Well, the junkyard, some junkyards offer service to come get them.
I don't think y'all mentioned.
I don't know if they do, but if they don't,
In other words, some of this stuff has already been was advertised in the newspaper. I know that.
These
But they haven't gone on gov deals yet.
No, nothing has been going on gov
This
deals.
is just
I was trying something new.
Try, Bo.
But I agree with John is saying. I mean, if the metal's high, let's get it down there. But John, my problem is I can't get it down there.
But generally speaking, you going from a 1990 International truck that's probably blown up to a potential 953C loader that could be worth $25,000.
Could be.
So that's what I'm saying. Why would we want to pay a commission on that?
Okay.
When we should advertise.
Sealed bill, but I don't.
That's my suggestion.
Yeah, no, we could do that again. That's fine. And then.
If you advertise, and if we advertise it, the paper, perhaps on the county Facebook or something, I will guarantee you get a bid on everything. I personally guarantee that. Somebody's going to bid if they see it on there.
Well,
you didn't last time.
You didn't.
How was it done? Was it sealed bid?
Yeah. Yes. And I was there with her while we.
I must have missed it because if I'd have seen it, I'd have been over there bidding on the tires.
All right, I'm gonna put them out again.
All right.
Well, I'll make a suggestion. You're talking about.
Do you need any motion for that, Steve?
I need a motion.
The surplus.
The bulldozers and the 2 loaders.
2 loaders and then the sheriff's vehicles.
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay. All right. Now we're gonna do the seal. We'll start working that direction.
I was gonna say, the ones that you didn't get any bids on, there are ads in the paper for people who buy junk cars.
Yeah.
They may take them to the junkyard for you and get.
I went to one guy. He looked at it, shook his head. I don't know.
You don't want to take it?
I don't know what the problem is, y'all.
All right,
I can't figure it out.
J4, Nottoway County Emergency Squad Board Strategic Plan. Do we have a strategic?
No, that's there because if we was going to have any more discussion, we've had the work session, and then after that work session, you and I had gotten together, and you said, hey, Steve, I would like to see what Emergency Services Solutions has to offer, because you want to hear you want to put everything on the table and have before we get into what's going to be the plan for the future. But one thing that we had talked about, if we build a relationship with the Nottoway Emergency Squad, we need a strategic plan. And my suggestion is, don't worry about doing the next 5 years. I think we need a 6-month plan, a year plan, a year and a half. I mean, a durable goals with them to help see if we can turn this ship around. And because, like I said in there, they're not required to go to answer to 911, but we're required to provide a service.
The code says may, but it's.
Right, but you
better provide.
You better.
Yes.
Somebody hit 911. Somebody needs help. But anyway, so I just put that in there because I figured that's going to be unfinished. I mean, that's going to be new business, and it may be old business next time, but it's going to be something that needs to be business on this.
I would say for yes.
Okay, that's the only way I say, sir. Okay.
All right. In K, consent items, there was something that somehow there was a lawsuit that we didn't know anything about, and it's over.
Yes.
So if you could just explain, there was about $11,000 in fees from our attorney, but we didn't know about it.
And okay. So evidently, back in the previous LRA director, they had a lady who said that the county still owed her some money, so she sued us. And I had no idea when you get into this rental business, the stuff that you might, I had no idea, Bo. I mean, I was going to say this. But anyway, I think we pretty much spent more money. Anyway, we didn't owe her any money. In fact, she owed us some money. And now to try to recoup that money, you got to have a physical address. She doesn't have a physical address, so we don't really know where she's located. And we spent money for a person that we rented property out there to, and we lost. And we need to get out the rental property. I'm just saying, we have got to get out of the rental business.
But that is a resolved case, it's no longer.
That's a resolved case, and I think.
Did anybody else have any questions on their consent items?
If you don't mind, can you get Catherine to speak on that just real quick?
Sure.
Because people think we're just throwing away money, and I'm not trying to.
No, this was a case that was in this courtroom. This lady was very adamant that she was owed a lot of money. I know sheriff can testify to that because we've spent a lot of time together in that case. And the case just kept getting continued by the judge to try and give this pro se plaintiff an opportunity. And in those situations, I really can't do anything, so I tried it at the first possible opportunity. So I apologize for the cost and stuff, but it was a.
Well, one thing that I've learned that what should have happened is the LRA director should have went either to the county administrator. I don't even know if I was here at that time, but we could have sent this to VACORP and our insurance could have paid for it. And so, but I think they called,
This just landed in our lap, and we were told to handle it, and so
yeah,
that's
so
what we
anyway, it's not their fault, but anyway, it could have went
Right.
another route.
Well, that's why we made the changes that we did.
Okay.
So, okay, well, in the future, if you get a case, let us maybe.
Well, they're pretty good on that now. We have
say-
good
say,
conversation.
Hey, we're working on it.
Yeah, okay,
All right.
thank you, Catherine.
All right, so any other questions on your consent items? Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Need a motion to accept or amend the consent agenda.
So moved.
Take a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, you can see some letters. We got our CRC information. That is a place that we're going to look for some courthouse grant funding when it comes time. Reporting of patients served, this is from Crossroads. Of course, Nottoway does have a high use of Crossroads. One of the things that I would like to see for that, Steve, is a place for them to meet as we go through this courthouse project or even the building down at BB&T. They would like a place to meet.
Okay, gotcha.
If you can think about that. Have a letter from Ampliform, but it was a kind of a moot point because Dominion did call and let us know that they didn't have staffing to oversee projects. Army National Guard. Talks about a couple locations. Any questions? And then John Tyler.
That's just for information. They should have called us at the first of the year, like,
Yeah, okay.
as we treat other folks.
Yeah, okay, so they were looking for some funds, but they didn't ask at the right time. All right, any other further questions? All right, we're gonna go to comments from members, oh, no, I'm sorry, County Administrator report.
Just real quick, Mr. Chairman, Darrell Garber played us a visit today, and he is 100% right. I have gotten good signage down in Blackstone for the treasurer and commissioner, but I have not got good signage here. It still looks like they're here, and people are still coming here. So I'm gonna work on that, and I appreciate him coming by and you just put things on the back burner, and I shouldn't have done that.
Moved on.
And it moved. That's right.
Yep.
Christy Hudson and I met virtually with at CRC with different commissioner of revenues today and county administrators. Now that we're going to this 4-year reassessment, we're looking at all the counties are having the same problem. Pearson has gone out of business and is now going to be working for a group called Solutions. And people complaining that they're not even getting out the vehicle and then going back to look at the property. And so we're coming together to see how we can put somebody on contract and maybe share it with other counties. We're not sure where we're going with that. So. But we just started that today, and Christy and I gave some input as well.
Is that why 24 didn't get put on the books? Because Pearson had
Well,
the new construction?
some of it, well, it could be. Charlotte, yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
Charlotte
could be.
County is, they have been reassessed now, and they can't even do a budget right now because it's late. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
They're
okay.
waiting
Well,
on
that
for their
explains-
assessment.
that
Right.
explains some of that, though.
Right,
reason all that
right.
got left
And
off.
see where they work around. You're supposed to have a license to be a assessor or whatever. So the guy who owned Pearson's had the license, but he's sending out people that
Don't have one.
don't even have a. Well, I better shut up, Steve. May not even have a clue.
All right.
So, but anyway, the other thing, May 1st, we got public hearings when we leave out here today. We're going to do, for May 1st, we got public hearings and it's already been advertised, fire levy ordinance, EMS levy ordinance, the $3 courthouse construction ordinance, and so that could bring us some more funding for the courthouse, and the one you call, Bill, the new buildings on the tax roll. The things that's pending coming up, VACO Region 4, we have a meeting the 28th. And I think Ms. Norton and Mr. Chairman Collins is going. I got to somehow start looking at this biannual tax. When we send out taxes every year, how do we start that process? And of course that's right now. I'm working with Catherine with that, but we haven't got there yet.
We're going to take a vote on that, ain't we?
We got to have a public hearing.
And then vote.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. And Catherine said that, because I asked her, I said, do we have to do a public hearing? And she says, if you got concerns about it, do a public hearing whether you need one or not.
No, I agree.
Right, anyway, that's her advice, and sometimes we take her advice, don't we?
I like to take it all the time.
Okay, and the registrar's office,
Bill got a butterfly
the registrar's
wing.
office is moving. Looks like I gotta have some kind of letter to the OAG's office, and I need to start that process if the board wants me to start doing that. You know, that was the letter of moving the voter registration's office to the BB&T. Do y'all want me, I don't think I need
would say, if you could just give a few more details, because there was a paragraph in the newspaper about that too.
Right.
If you could just kind of give a timeline of where we are. And we're not going to end up where we want to be until the inspector comes down from the Attorney General's office.
Well, it's by code, it's the board's responsibility to find I think the verbiage was in there, a suitable place for the voter registrar's office. I have been communicating with the chairman of the school board, and they had done they're waiting for an assessment of looking at what to do with that Burkeville school. And he and that group realizes that realized very much so that if evidently when you close the school down, you reopen it, you got to be with the day's code. So they don't have a clue what that cost is going to be, and they realize with the construction coming up with the courthouse and other the financial situation that the county's in. So you know, it might be a recommendation that everybody in that building needs to leave. Well, we got to find a place for them. I was under the impression, I felt like that was a suitable place. I do not run voter registers. I don't have no clue a lot of the logistics, but it looked like it was enough room. It was in a nice popular place, and it looked very safe. So I think the way this process goes, I got to write a letter to them, and then somebody will come down and inspect that area if we want to move them
The
there.
electoral board already wrote the letter, and that's going to Richmond. They've got 60 days to respond.
That's right.
And by them not responding, it's my understanding that they're okay with it.
Correct, but there's still an inspection.
Oh, so you still have to be an inspection? I didn't understand that right.
I didn't know.
Still, if there's a person that will arrive. Remember you asked about having 2 addresses?
You're right, yeah, and they wouldn't, that's right.
It was too late.
It's too late, that's right.
So they still gonna do an inspection, okay.
But then he can, if they don't like that one, then maybe you can bring them.
I can bring them to
up
another,
here.
right.
Say,
right.
hey,
And I concur that, you know, we need to provide them a suitable place.
Oh, yeah.
And as we all looked and appeared, it is a suitable place. And considering our email from April 15th that there was an incident, so it apparently is not a safe place where he currently resides. They've had several incidents there, so I think the sooner we move them, the better.
The other thing too is, I just want to make sure the board and the public understands this. This is not asking a vote, but it's a pretty much a consensus of this board that the treasurer and the commissioner of revenue and the voter registration, we're going to try to get them back here on this property doing the renovation project. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
And we're not moving the crew, y'all. We want to have it right here.
Did you say you meant not have them here during the renovation?
No, I mean, bring them back. I'm sorry, I probably didn't say it right, Bo.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I got you. No, I got
But
you.
yeah, the intention is to bring everybody back here on the
that's right.
complex.
Yes, sir.
Okay, not leave them in Blackstone or blah, blah, blah. Okay.
But you mentioned not moving the crew. That hadn't been voted on or consensus?
It has not.
I thought the PPEA process was to get a little data on that as well, to show the reasoning behind.
Well, I've been meeting with different PPEA representatives, and this board has said, listen, we want to repurpose as many buildings as we can. So they haven't said it, but they pretty much says, hey, renovating, if we renovate this place right and put the commissioner, I'm just making up stuff, put the commissioner, treasurer, and the voter registration in this building, that's cheaper than building a new building. So by a long shot, that's right. So we haven't got that far yet, but they'll probably be we gotta pick somebody and we're gonna
the problem is the date. I mean.
Yeah.
But I wanted to clarify, because I do represent crew.
I know, I
and
got you.
they've left Phil Miskovich out there hanging.
Well, the judge's order doesn't have Phil Miskovich's name on it. He doesn't have to go to jail if we don't comply. So.
Well, that's true.
I had a citizen today ask me, speaking of which, and I know this ain't no open discussion about it, but you brought it up, Mr. Chairman. He said, what about if Nottoway don't have the money to build a complex, so you're not gonna do it? Are they gonna lock you board members up? I said,
Yep.
no, they can't lock the board up. No, I don't know that, I'm not no attorney.
If you
But can they lock a board member up
violate
for
a
not,
judge's order?
if we don't have the money and we say we ain't gonna do it?
I mean, arguably, he could hold you in contempt of court, probably.
As a board member?
Yes.
I don't know, but I'm.
Right, contempt of court for not building the complex, I mean, anybody can be held in
We'll get
contempt
to-
of court.
I'm on the board at the jail, so we'll get a special room up there.
I've got experience.
I don't
I've
want
got
a special
experience
room.
up there.
I don't want a special room.
It ain't that bad. But now, that's the reason I didn't serve on jail board, because then you go inside and it'd be
They got good
different.
sandwich, they got good sandwiches.
I've told y'all all before, I'm not going to jail for anything.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do that, but I had a big landowner today say,
Mr. Toast,
Don't
this
do
is
it.
your discussion, go ahead.
is it really?
Your turn.
Yeah, I'm
All
done.
right.
So while you were talking, go.
I got a sinus problem, as I said earlier, so I ain't gonna say much, but, I felt like we made some ground tonight in adopting the solar ordinance. And honestly, if it wasn't for that and me wanting to listen and needing to listen to the people who came to speak in favor of it and against it, I would not have came here because my head is hurting that much. So, having said that, I'm glad that John was able to, join us remotely tonight. That was a blessing for us. It's a blessing for the citizens of Nottoway that John is still here and kicking, not too high yet, but higher every day. And I look forward to him sitting in this room here with us in a lot shorter order than what he had originally planned, and perhaps maybe even the community had originally planned. But it's been a lot of people praying for John. There's been a lot of prayers answered there, and it's been a lot of, as my daddy would say that some light seen by John and the people praying for him. Having said that, that's all I got.
All right, Mr. Rourke, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I love you guys. You guys have been very supportive of me and my family, and as well as the community. This community, I spoke on it before. This is a very loving community in Nottoway. It is a very forgiving community, and they pray very well, because I'm telling you, without God, I wouldn't be here. God gave the heathen for a reason. So I'm going to continue to do what I can, what I feel like I'm being called to do, and I will do it to the best of my abilities. I know tonight may have upset a few people, and at the end of the day, we are forced to face what has been given to us that was neglected over decades. It's on us. The people elected us 5 to do it, and we're going to do it. And I remind, Steve might remember this from back in 2019. I stood before the previous board before I got elected, and I said that when all of this rolls over, it's going to be ugly and it's going to be expensive. And here we are. It's exactly what we said it was going to be, and we're the ones faced with it. It's not going to go away. I'm like y'all. I have some experience at Piedmont as well. But at the end of the day, I don't want to go back. But I can tell you right now, if it was up to me, I would fight that judge's order, because the people have got to pay for it. And I think the people ought to have to say, not one individual. And granted, it needs to be upgraded. It needs to have a lot of work done to it. But at the end of the day, the people...
Hey, John, we're under court order. Let's,
Yeah, I know.
okay.
I mean, when they order, but, at the end of the day, I feel like the people that got to pay for it should have a say in it as well. But unfortunately, it's been taken out of our hands. And we'll get to that too when the bridge comes up on us, and we'll cross that together. And that's the one thing I love about this board. We're together from day one. And even through this trial that I'm going through, we've all managed to stay together, stay in contact. And like I said when I started, I love you guys, and I absolutely love Nottoway. I love the citizens of Nottoway County, and thank y'all so much.
You're welcome, John. Supervisor Ingram?
I'd like to apologize to the board and the folks out there. I lost my cool. Again, it's because I've been involved with this thing for so long.
You corrected it, Mr. Ingram. You didn't lose no respect from nobody the way you handled yourself when you corrected it. So don't worry about that. You corrected it. That took more of a man to do that than anything.
Wait till I get home.
You probably
I'm
lost.
gonna hide the Curry record so she can't see it.
You probably lost your cool on that ball field sometimes too.
Yeah, I have lost my cool on the ball field many times.
We still got some fire chiefs in there. They can follow you home, maybe. Get the first
My
aid
wife
kit
used to
out.
tell me, don't stand up on top of that stand at the stadium and be yelling like that because people can hear what you're saying. Anyway, but I apologize to everyone. I guess I'm too passionate about it. Like I said, I've been here all my life. My family's been here 6 generations, and I love this county. And that's why I came back. That's why I stayed here. I think a lot of people moved to this county because it's rural.
And that's why you're on this board?
Well, I don't know
Because
about that.
because you love the county. I do.
I think I'm crazy, but anyway. But, you know, we're going to get through this thing. I agree with John. We will get through it. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we will get through it. And working together, and I appreciate everybody that's on this board. And I enjoy working with all of you, and we'll get through it.
Vice Chairman Norton.
Just want to encourage everybody, the public, to attend our public hearing on May the 1st. Pack the courthouse, move it to the stadium, I don't care. We need to hear from every individual as we potentially face one of the most critically important decisions in the history of this board of transitioning or the potential future of emergency services, fire, rescue in this county. It's not new. It's something that's the region, the state, but now it's our county. And I want to challenge every person that wants to come complain about their tax rate to come and offer us a revenue solution, because we don't know where it's going to come from. So I want everybody to pack the house, and we will listen. And John, it's wonderful to have you back, brother.
Thank you. Good to be here, Deb. Thank you.
So you want to be a leader, you get to make hard decisions. And I'm going to say this to the citizens of this county. Part of the reason I ran for the board was to prevent solar. And I voted tonight, and I didn't prevent it. And I did it because of the revenue situation. I did it because I had to change my mind. I did not want to, but I also don't like raising the taxes like this. And every time we turn around, there's another problem. So I'll apologize to those that voted for me because I said I would not vote for solar. I did it tonight. And that's all I got to say.
Mr. Chairman, let me say something about that. You could have easily, and because I've been on the board and I've seen people play politics for 15-some years. When that vote came to you, it was already 3-1. You could have easily said no, and you've been okay, and it still passed, but you didn't. So that tells a lot too.
Took a pretty good man for that,
That's right.
too.
I will say that to you. Some people wouldn't have done that.
I commend you, Mr. Chairman, on the way you handled the meeting tonight as far as respect to us on the hearing. It got hard for us to hear a few times, and I commend you for pointing that out and calling that back to order.
Hey, John, you want to make a motion?
He gonna say
I
stand.
make a motion to adjourn, brother and sister.
All in favor? Stand up.
All right, John, you got to stand up, man. Get up.
Get up, John. You can do it. You've been doing it.
John.
See you, man. I'll be talking to you, John.
All right, thank you, man.
All right, man.
Thanks, John.